Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Give yourself a pat on the back and a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. You made it. You made it to the weekend. Happy Friday. Happy NBA opening week as we go ahead and celebrate the greatest sport with the greatest athletes on the planet getting back on the court for us and our entertainment. Last night, two games featuring two premier teams and players and blah, blah, blah. They lost. 76ers lose their home opener to the Milwaukee Bucks and man, the boos. I still hear the boos. The boos are killing me. Opening night boos in the city of brotherly love as the Sixers fall to the Bucks. We also had the Battle of LA, ladies and gentlemen, the Los Angeles Lakers hosting the Los Angeles Clippers. And the only thing that I have to say about that is the Lakers and the Sixers look an awful lot alike. And that's not a good thing. All right. Shout out to everybody who makes this community so awesome. And that means you, the listener. No matter where you are, no matter how much time you spend, we appreciate you coming in. We ask for a favor. It's the only thing we've asked is that you engage with us. And how do you engage with us? Like and retweet the tweets up here as the show starts. We have the show card letting the people know we are here. Sign up for the latest episode and put your subscription email in there and sign up for the newsletter, the Hoop Spaces review. And we opened it last year. We didn't put a lot of effort into it because I get information in the backside. But we are now ready to add in our community, the Hoop Spaces community. So if you love ball, make sure you join. It's just simple, no frills. Whole bunch of people passionate about basketball. All right, I appreciate it. I see my man Scott's ready to come on up. I'll be back in 5. Thank you. Good morning. All right. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. We have made it. It is the opening week of the NBA. We have a full slate of games tonight. We have 2 games last night to go ahead and talk about, including the wonderful narrative of why Joel Embiid does not look ready for the start of the season, why Tyrese Maxey and James Harden play the same position, and what the heck is the Lakers going to do about this, because this is not good. Russell Westbrook, Pat Beverly, they combined for 1 for 18 shooting. 1 for 18. I remember I said, hey, Juan Toscano Anderson, he should probably start. Takes off some defensive pressure on LeBron James and stops the redundancy that is Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverly. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is actually what the Lakers and the Sixers have in common. Both teams feature starting guards who play the exact same position, and their offenses are looking very suspect as a result. Up on stage already, we have my friend Scott from the Inclusion brand bourbon, ladies and gentlemen, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Scott here is big on inclusion as we are, as we want everybody to have an equitable voice here. Scott, good morning. If you guys do not know, give Scott 3 or 4 seconds to catch up, and he's going to wow you with his takes. But first, before he does that, I'm hoping he's able to get a good read-in for the Inclusion brand bourbon, ladies and gentlemen. His passion project matched only for his love for the Miami Heat. Scott, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. Chris, I'm always thrilled, and I'm loyal and humble and everything else. You just made me feel great by allowing me to be in this chat. And, of course, I appreciate the patience of catching up. Closed caption has made it possible for a fool like me to be inside the spaces. But I really appreciate everything you've said and done and all the patience you've given me. But let's talk just a little bit about your quote of Harden and Maxey being the exact same players. No, I don't think that they're exact same position. Maxey actually passes the ball. It's a whole different thing. Harden went off last night, and it's hard to explain. He still got the loss, and they didn't really hit 90 points last night. I can understand that, but I think there's a real chemistry issue in Philadelphia right now. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more about what I'm trying to say and articulate it better.
Oh, I definitely agree, Scott. I said this last night. I'm going to get the tweet up here, and to be honest, it to me it applies to both the Sixers and the Lakers. I don't think they're the same player. I think they play the same position within this 76ers offense to give you a little bit more clarification. And that position is the ball dominant lead guard in this clunky, freewheeling isolation 76ers offense. And you kind of saw it last year at times when they were trying to mesh together. But what we've seen in the opening and today in last night's game is that Tyrese Maxey needs more minutes with the ball in his hand. And to me, there's a difference between chemistry and cohesion, Scott. And what I see is that they have cohesion, right? They're a team, but they don't have chemistry on the floor. And I think that's because they're still trying to figure out how to be able to get both Maxey and Harden the ability to get about a usage rate of around 24% each, so that they can have enough ball time to be able to be effective. You saw, especially in the opener, not this home opener, but the original opener, Tyrese was wild at times, driving by everybody, and he would unleash a crazy right-handed arcing layup that would go off the side of the rim. That was a byproduct because James Harden was just pounding the ball into the ground over and over again. So that's how I see it. Let me get this tweet up here. Scott, after I get a little bit more of an explanation out there, and the tweet is actually up on the Jumbotron, what do you think now? All right, we might have a little bit of a technical difficulty here with Scott. We'll bring him back up after he's ready. We also have Jose, one of the three hosts of 77.
I'm right here. I
All
just want to make one other quick point that probably everybody in here, everybody in this space, seems to be a basketball savant, and it's clear to see that the Sixers have a real issue on the bench. At halftime last night, I made a tweet that the Sixers bench only produced 7 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists in the first half. That's something that's got to change. And you got your starters all averaging 35 minutes plus per game right now. I know it's only 2 games, but that's going to be a real issue if you can't get any production out of your bench. And again, I think that goes back to the style of play. Next, he strives in the open court. He strives on the fast break. He likes to get out and run. I don't think anybody can keep up with him on a 92, 94-foot court. But if you're not going to push the ball, and if he's not going to touch the ball, all you have right there is a shooting guard that's 6'1". He's not great on defense yet, and that's got a lot to do with experience. And everybody's hoping for Maxey to have that lead. So in order for that to happen, maybe Maxey needs to go to the bench, or maybe he needs to come out of the game earlier and come back in the game at the start of the second quarter. Otherwise, you're going to see issues. Another thing is, Maxey really didn't play the fourth quarter last night. He sat the bench. Even during the Philadelphia 76ers run, he didn't come back into the game until the 4-minute mark last night. And that was when they got the time, and all of a sudden, Philadelphia pulled back a little bit. So the chemistry issue and the bench issue really is showing out in the first 2 games. That's just my take.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. The bench was putrid. In fact, the second half didn't get any better. They actually produced less in the second half than they did in the first. Well, we can definitely talk about that. The scary part, and I go into the late night spaces on the computer and I listen. I don't join on my profile. It gets kind of hectic, and that's not my style. But one thing Scott said is true. The starter minutes are insane for the second game of the season. James Harden played 40 minutes. PJ Tucker, the ageless wonder, played 39 minutes. He had 5 points and 5. But that's just not going to cut it. Tobias Harris was the low starter. He had 33. Tyrese Maxey had 34. And Joel Embiid, coming off a 38-minute performance, got 36. And he already has issues in terms of looking as if he's physically ready for the rigors of the season. We're going to go next, though, to Jose. We also have KP, the executive hater. We have Schoolboy up here as well. Jose, one of the 3 hosts of 77 Spaces, the best damn Mav content you can have here on Twitter. Jose, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Chris. I'm doing well, enjoying my Friday off. How are you doing, Chris?
Hey, I'm happy for you with that Friday off. I'm also happy that we don't have to hear the machine work. It's a different thing when we hear the real Jose come through, ready to talk some hoops. How you doing, man? Did you watch the games?
I did, and I have a nasty agenda that I'm going to apologize in advance for. So, Philly managed to put two superstars together who just mentally check out, who don't have that winning mentality. I apologize for all the 76er fans here down below listening, even Chris himself. I think Joel Embiid and James Harden are a nice combination, but they're not good enough for a championship. Reason why is because James Harden has had a history of just bailing out when he feels like this ain't working. And Joel Embiid, he calls out his teammates and then he'll blame it on everybody else but himself. So I say that 2 games into the season as a quite of a bit an overreaction, but who cares? We're here to push agendas. The Milwaukee Bucks, they didn't look that great, but they're down players. But hey, they did enough to weather the storm. I'm a big Tyrese Maxey fan, so I love seeing him being able to just get to the rim. Those fast breaks, oh my God, like just him just running down straight, tunnel vision, 2020. He got it all, and I'm just excited watching Tyrese Maxey. But to watch Joel Embiid and James Harden, that's something I'm not an advocate to watch. Uh, you mentioned 40 minutes for who played 40 minutes last night for you?
James Harden already
Oh,
played 40 minutes, man.
oh my goodness. That sounds like Dorian Finney-Smith against the Phoenix Suns. You don't want to see your star players playing 40 minutes this early into the game, into the season. And that's why depth is important.
100%. Not going to deny that. Everybody down below, if you don't know, I am a 76ers fan, and I'm hurting today. I need a little pick me up. I actually went to Starbucks. This is my son's last day on fall break, and he wanted a chocolate croissant because he understood that donuts aren't where it's at. It's the chocolate croissant, ladies and gentlemen. But he's here. My friend Al, my fellow 76ers fan is here. He's gonna cut the line. I'm sorry, everybody, but like we need a moment to commiserate amongst ourselves because I saw something very bad last night. I saw Daniel House Jr. get 21 minutes, and I saw Matisse Thybulle get 0 again. I'm hurt. I'm hurt. Al, help me. What you got, Al? Because I got nothing. Embiid looked like 40-year-old Embiid. Harden couldn't hit a three despite being open for 5 of the 7 he took. Maxey looked like he was ready to go for the Olympic 100 meter. I'm lost. PJ Tucker, he got 39 minutes, bro. Here we are. Big Al, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Philly still lit, but the 76ers are struggling a little bit. But we're going to be fine. What I seen last night wasn't discouraging. I just didn't understand what the hell is going on. Time after time after time, people were wide open. It was no hustle, no intensity, no nothing. It was like it was a morgue inside our stadium, which was sold out, was waiting for something to happen, and nothing happened the whole game. I have no idea why. I can't explain it, but Embiid played like either he was sick or hurt because he did not play any defense, except for maybe one or two times when he chased down a layup and blocked it. I have no idea why what the hell is the damn center name?
Brooke
What's
Lopez.
the center name for Milwaukee?
Brooke Lopez.
Yes.
Why
He
he
left
looked
Brooke Lopez open time after time after time. Just off of one hustle, we could have won the game because he was arguing a missed call down the other end, laid on the fucking floor, and didn't get back, and Brooke Lopez hit a wide open 3-pointer. That was 3 points that we could have won the game off of. I have no idea what he was doing yesterday. He didn't even do a post-game interview after the game. So he got out of there so he didn't have to explain himself because he knew the media was going to be all over him. As far I was talking to you during the game, as far as the Maxey Harden thing, we're going to figure it out. It's early. We're going to figure it out. Everybody's going to get their shots. I also told you the demise of Harden, forget that. Oh, he's dead. He'll never come back. He will never be the same. We ain't got to talk about that no more on here. And I see not one person is going to mention that anymore because obviously Harden is back. But now he's got to have a happy medium between himself getting himself off and making sure everybody else get there. And that's another problem. We're not sharing the ball enough. We're not moving it. It's sticking again. It's because he's in his bag. So Boom. It's sticking too much. You got to move the ball.
All right. I want to share the perspective that I had. We lost to a team that started Javon Carter. We lost to a team that we shot better than. We lost to a team that we shot free throws better than. We only were out rebounded by 4, so it wasn't that. No. They had 7 more assists, but we had more steals. Same amount of blocks. We had less fouls. Yet somehow I look up and I see the fact that Drew Holiday went 2 for 15 and Grayson Allen went 3 for 10.
Right.
And halfway through the third quarter, I knew we weren't going to win this game.
And B had 3 free throws. 3. The whole game.
Well, he wasn't on the block.
Which is another thing, which that I just don't understand. If you, I say it time after time, if you're off, you can have an off game. That's fine. But take it to the fucking hoop and get to the free throw line. What's hard about that? You can have an off game shooting and then just take it to the free throw line. Why is that so hard, Chris?
I don't know. They also didn't have Chris Middleton, who's actually now out for a more extended period of time. I'm lost, bro. Let me get some of these hands up because I had you cut the line. I wanted the people to hear the frustration that we share as 76ers fan because we have a great coach in Doc Rivers. KP, the executive hater, coming fresh off of watching the debut of Black Adam in IMAX, and he is here to tell you that Black Adam is the hostile takeover that DC is needed as they understand finally that Batman is overrated and they actually need a real vehicle to make good movies. KP, good morning. How you doing?
Chris, thank you. I love that therapy session you guys just had. That was like music to my ears. Kind of reminds me of another guy that I won't name. His first name is Khan. His last name is Ye. That needs that same therapy session. Yeah, man, I'm going to keep it very peaceful today. Black Adam, I watched it yesterday. My review of Black Adam is coming this Sunday, right after the House of the Dragon episode is over. 10:05. Follow me if you want to come along. It's going to be spoilers, so if you didn't watch it yet, or you care about spoilers, don't come, because I'm going to be posting spoilers. I did the bootleg thing, and I recorded the after credit scene, so don't worry about it. Secondly, I watched the games yesterday. I'm just going to say something about both games because I can't stay for long. But the Sixers look slow. Your offense looks slow. Harden keeps pounding that ball like he's a porn star. It's wild to me to see that he's scoring the ball, but he's not being effective. Joel Embiid looks slow. The only fast person on your team is Maxey and maybe Melton off the bench. After that, you guys got no athletes. I haven't seen a lob dunk. Y'all threw a lob. Did y'all even throw a lob dunk all last year or this year yet? Like, it's pretty embarrassing, Chris.
And Embiid's not a lob dunk type of guy.
We threw lob dunks last year.
I mean, anyone, not Embiid, just anyone.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying,
last year, yes. This year, not yet.
okay. And then secondly, I want to give my opinion about the Clippers Lakers game. For my friends from Memphis, because Memphis fans, we are friends until All-Star break. I'm giving you guys leniency because of what Ja did and said. Great guy. Love Ja Morant. Love Ja Morant. He's my boy. Gritty. I don't see anything that I saw in that game yesterday from the Battle of LA guys that the Warriors got to be anything to be scared of. Clippers, they got a bunch of players, but do they got players? I don't know if they got players. They got players. I don't know if they got any players. John Wall looked good. You know, he was hitting some mid-range shots. Y'all was struggling. I see my man Jay down there. He was commenting about the Warriors struggling to blow out the Lakers until the third quarter. You guys didn't even reach that part of the Rubik's Cube. So Clippers, you guys got some work to do. Kawhi Leonard looked okay. They look okay. I gotta see it to believe it. Like Santa Claus, I gotta see it to believe it with the Clippers and the Lakers. Somebody called the coroner. Somebody called the hospital. Pull the plug. You can't resuscitate a dead body. It's not OVER. It's OVA. It's over. So good night to LeBron's dumbass commercial. Good night to that horrid, decrepit trailer for house party that he put out. Put that in the dirt too, with the Lakers season. So yeah, man, I'm a peaceful guy. And then lastly, Chris, before I go, I was having a conversation with my Memphis friends. To the M, if you guys are content creators, talk about your tip jar, please. Let people know that they can pay you for great content that you are delivering to them on a daily or whatever basis that you bring. Don't be ashamed to say, hey, yo, y'all can donate to me for all the hard work I'm putting in, because if the church can do it, you can do it. So that's the tip from the hater for today. Talk about the ish that you got going on and don't be ashamed to say, hey, yo, pay me. Pay me. I'm worth it. Peace out.
There you go. And ladies and gentlemen, just like that, you need to actually look up top, because Sunday night is where it's going to be. Black Adam review, House of the Dragon with KP, the executive hater, getting ready to launch the pop culture wing of Hoop Spaces. And I can't tell you the amount of hard work and sacrifice outside of the content he's been producing. As somebody who's gone through trauma, I am proud and happy to call KP my friend and support him in this endeavor of creating great future content. So make sure you shoot KP a follow. Tap in Sundays at 10:05 so you can talk all things House of the Dragon and that Black Adam review, which is actually a superhero movie that I actually might go watch in the theater. Amazing. Good job, KP.
You got theater money, Chris, or you want me to shoot you the link?
Shoot me a link, bro. I ain't got theater money. All right, I appreciate it. Make sure you follow him before he heads out, because he's a busy dude. He's got to go to work. JFK is going to come up and take his place and get a retort, but we're going to go back to talking some hoops. We have Hot Take Harry up here, EK Johnson, the schoolboy. We got Scott, Al, Jose, and Ivan. We'll get to everybody down below. I want to give a big shout out to all the Clippers fans in the building, ladies and gentlemen. I said this yesterday. Low key, the Clippers fan base, top 5 in the NBA. That's just the truth. It's the honest truth, and we're going to get into it as we start talking about the Lakers-Clippers game over at the switch of the hour. But now's the time for the read. Thank you for coming in. Happy Friday. You've made it to your weekend. Give yourself a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. We are here gathered today to talk about 4 teams and a sport that we love. We are brought to you by our sponsor, Slam Goods. Slamgoods.com is the website, part of the Slam Online Empire. They started out as a magazine almost 40 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, and over the course of the time, like they improved. Like that's what life makes you do, and you can improve as well by buying yourself an actual hoodie that's really worth wearing. If you go over there because it's hoodie season, they got these nice thick hoodies that keep you warm but don't make you sweat, and they block the wind. Because like nothing's worse than buying a hoodie that's like dope for like a week, and then after you wash it or dry clean it one time, it's like wearing a t-shirt. All right, slamgood.com. Go over there, pick it up, look at what you want. And when you check out, there's a place where you can put a promo code. Use promo code HoopSpaces. Save 15% off of your entire purchase site wide. We are appreciative to Slam Goods for rocking with us for season 2 of Hoop Spaces. And if you ever happen to miss an episode, head over to YouTube. You can catch all of the episodes in perpetuity, powered by Audio Labs. We'll get it up and running as a podcast pretty soon. There's a lot of dope creators out here, and I'm a little bit different. I just go slower. I'm more deliberate. But if you're looking for a podcast now that you want to lock into and get ready for, you can always reach out because we know a whole bunch of talented creators, and we'll definitely hook you up there. All right. Up next, though, we're going to go to the person who's waited the longest up on stage. That's Schoolboy J. Schoolboy J, good morning. How you doing?
I'm good, Chris. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm surviving. Both Al and I, as Sixers fans, are still upset, but we live.
Yeah, I don't mean to pile on, but I feel like Embiid looked defeated out there. He wasn't. Because you got to go. He wasn't pounding the ball inside anymore. I needed a little bit more. I didn't see that on Tuesday night. Also, so I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no problem, man. Appreciate you. What are you looking forward to tonight?
Yeah, my Celtics. I think we have good chance of winning big. Cause I didn't see a lot of Miami Heat. I watched the other day.
All right, cool. Appreciate you coming in, man. Yeah. Make sure you stay good and stay warm. It's gonna get cold soon.
Yeah, I live in Minnesota, so yeah, I know.
Oh shoot, you already got snow, man.
I know, right? Yeah.
All right, appreciate you, Schoolboy J. All right, up next, we're gonna head over to Hot Take Harry, ladies and gentlemen. Part of La Familia, part of the pool party that I am in, Miami Herald. He's going to tell you what he saw last night in the putrid offense of the Philadelphia 76ers. He's also might actually get you a read for Basement Sports, which he does host spaces here. Hot Take Harry, good morning. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm living. I don't have a Max Strus off my bench to give me 5 threes, but I'm here. We live.
All right. Well, I'm sorry that you don't have a Max at home, but yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I don't know. I was going to ask you because you're much more objective on the spaces than I think you are in the group chat. So, I mean, is this the end of Doc Rivers? When is Embiid going to ask out of his extension? Like, how extension is he ready to get out of there? And what do they do? This is kind of the Doc Rivers blueprint. He just comes in, they do well in the regular season, they choke down the stretch. And I think someone made a good point earlier that, you kind of have an issue with Embiid and Harden. They're both guys who are all-time greats, very good regular season players. But, they usually stuff catches up to them by the end of the year. Harden's been bit by the injury bug recently, and Embiid is getting his face broken a couple times now. So I don't know how your guys are feeling, if there needs to be a move, if you need to try and trade Harris. Like, what's the move now? Because it just looks like, even if you guys – I mean, I'm not too worried about the Sixers in the regular season, but, what are you doing in the playoffs? PJ Tucker's a year older, and obviously we saw him break down for the Heat last year up close and personal. So, yeah, kind of wondering what your thoughts are and what do you do going forward.
Well, my first thought is Tobias Harris isn't going to be traded until next year now. Nobody's going to want to trade for him now, and then at least trade for him of value now with him having this season plus next season. You're talking about basically being willing to swallow up to $76 million, right? If he was an expiring, I don't think there's an issue. I think he becomes tradable and an asset of value for the Sixers in the trade market. So I'm not looking for that type of movement. And I agree that they will be fine for the regular season. They won't be fine for the playoffs, especially if Doc Rivers can't control the rotations. Like there are like PJ Tucker ain't even gonna last till Christmas if they're gonna give him 39 minutes a game. Let's be honest. The biggest fear that I had going into the season was twofold. First is we wouldn't have a facilitating point guard off the bench because that's not DeAnthony Melton. I love the pickup for DeAnthony Melton, but DeAnthony Melton was meant to be a defensive combo guard who can hit an open three to come off the bench to play next to either Maxey or Harden. And he's doing it. But when you have him come in for Harden, which is usually what happened or what's supposed to happen, can't say that yet, supposed to happen first to give Harden a spell, Maxey can't get into the flow of the game because for the first 6-7 minutes, Harden is out there pounding the ball into the sand. That is a coaching issue. That is Doc Rivers' responsibility. And anybody who's watched him in his career understands three things about Doc Rivers. Number one, he is the ultimate players coach. He prefers for the players to actually manage it and handle it with internally first, with kind of like a detached guidance, right? And that's why he was really great in Los Angeles turning around the Clippers with Chris Paul, because Chris Paul was the domineering, nitpicking, nanny, as some people used to call him, that complimented Doc Rivers hands off, hey, I want you to build yourself up as the best team possible. I'm going to try to put you in the best position to succeed by trusting you and instilling confidence and then trying to manage you, not necessarily in sense of X's and O's, but in expectations and managing pressure, which is hilarious because if you look at the history of Doc Rivers, it never works in the end except for 1 year that they had 4 amazing players in Boston. That is a problem. The signing of PJ Tucker is another problem. When that was signed, I said, like, if it was a 1 year or a 1-and-1, sure. But signing him for 3 at 30 really handcuffed and limited the ability for the Philadelphia 76ers to either address by trade or address by free agency the lack of a facilitating backup point guard. Like, I was screaming for them to trade for TJ McConnell and bring TJ McConnell back. I was trade for Corey Joseph, bring in Corey Joseph. Like any of these guys who make $8 million or less could have been had and would have been the needed piece. And so until either Springer or Milton get involved, and I don't think Milton can be a leading facilitator off the bench. If Springer can get involved and be that, great. Until that happens, unfortunately, I see a high minute count for both James Harden and Joel Embiid. And unfortunately, the more you put Joel Embiid out there, the more he moves away from the block because that's what makes him tired, and the more he thinks he's a freaking 3-and-D wing and wants to go out there and take everybody off the dribble. So there you go. Hot take, Harry. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, you did. The only thing I might disagree with you a little about is the Harris contract. I kind of think in the NBA now, teams that are over the cap and teams that don't do as well at free agency might take a chance on a guy who still has this year and next year left. And then your thought process is if you take the chance on Harris and he's not the guy that you need, that's a giant expiring contract to do what you want next year. So I think that's probably the only move they have. You're right. I mean, the PJ Tucker thing kind of handicaps them being hard capped, and we'll see what they can do. I didn't expect big things from them, so this isn't that surprising to me. And let me just real quick shout out Basement Sports. That's where you can hear my my content a lot. And we're just a Miami-based sports network. We're going to talk about the Heat. We do streams after every game, and I'm part of the Random Scrub Heat podcast that has been debuting on Wednesdays. We're trying to do once a week Miami Heat recap. We also do Miami Dolphin stuff if you guys are into football. Follow us at Basement Sports and the letter N after that, Basement Sports N. And we'd love to have you guys follow along. And I appreciate having me on, Chris. It's always good to be on here.
Yeah, stay around, man, because when we switch over from recap to preview, you got a great game tonight with the Heat and Celtics. We're gonna definitely want to hear your thoughts on that. Up next, we're gonna go to EK. We also have Jose with his hand up. Bankai, the show killer, has joined the stage. Micah is here. Thank you, everybody, for making any part of your Friday morning part of Hoop Spaces. Like, we really are appreciative, not just myself, but every content creator that's able to come up here and share what they have. And as KP said, like, I'm going to make an ask a little bit later today. Maybe you can help us out because there's a couple things we want to get done here. Up next, though, you're going to hear the voice of EK Johnson. Big question that we have, EK, as we've asked every time you come up on stage, have you bought a 9-volt battery yet?
Yes, I did. Can you hear the difference or no?
Absolutely, everybody. Round of applause for EK. He is not going to allow us to make fun of him and the lack of a 9-volt battery. We are happy to hear the silence so we can focus on your voice. Good morning, sir.
Wonderful. Good morning. How you doing, Chris?
I'm here. I mean, like, what do you want me to say? The Sixers look like ass. Like,
Yeah,
they do.
man. It's unfortunate because I agree with everything you said regarding the game last night. The fact that you guys only lost by 2 is very glaring because, like I said, like I said in the chat, Joel Embiid needs to be more aggressive, and he has these lapses. I feel like where because his conditioning isn't where it needs to be, he tends to float out more towards the perimeter. And then when he does that, you're bailing the defense out because then you're forcing yourself into tough shots. And nights like last night, he wasn't necessarily effective passing out of double teams. And that causes you to go 6 for 21 in 36 minutes, right? And play virtually no defense, right? I had no impact on the offensive end or the defensive end. The only positive impact he had was on the board. He had 12 rebounds last night, right? But kind of digging deeper into the Sixers, I really feel like you guys got to bring in a point guard, free agent point guards, and free agent point guards that are out there: DJ Augustine, Eric Bledsoe, Trey Burke, Chris Chioza, Darren Collison. I know all these. Most of these
Do
guys
you
are like,
hear the words that are coming out of your mouth, man? Like Chris Chioza.
It's bad. I know. No, that's the situation you guys are in because you guys don't have a capable point guard on your second unit. And also, I don't know what this is. Maybe you can give me some more insight. Furkan Korkmaz and Shake Milton did not play last night. Are they injured? Are they?
No, they are not injured.
Okay, so they were available to play. They just didn't get any minutes, which is very, very odd to me. If Shake Milton is a guy who can create off the dribble and Korkmaz is a capable shooter, and you guys were horrible from 3 last night. So it just doesn't make any sense to me why Doc wouldn't find any minutes for him, but you give 21 minutes to Daniel House, who is, a serviceable player. But a guy like Korkmaz, who's been in that system for years, I feel like he should be getting those minutes. That's just my personal opinion.
I agree. Is either him or Niang, and because Niang only got 8 minutes, it's sad. Al, hop in here. Your thoughts, real quick. Oh, he might have popped off. All right, there you go.
I think he's. I just have a feeling he's trying different things. I never seen Cork not get any minutes at all. Like at least you put him in there for a couple minutes, see if he's feeling it that night, or Shake get a couple minutes, see if he can do something, change the pace. I just think he's experimenting. It's early, so he's just going to see. I don't like that. No, let me try this. And I think we're going to see as we go along, he's going to make some changes. But I never seen with Shake and Cork never even touch the floor. So I gotta trust him right now that he has a plan, that he knows what he's doing, and he know he's got them always, and he's trying some different things. That's the only thing I can figure. Anything else, I have no idea.
All right, appreciate
that. You guys off-ball movement lags. I mean, the starting lineup, there's no off-ball movement with the starting lineup. I mean, Tyrese Maxey and James Harden, they're both individually great players. They can both create for themselves, but they both need the ball in their hands. And obviously, James Harden has been doing it way longer, so he's going to control that offense, which is why his numbers look great last night, right? But being a Houston Rockets fan, I saw this James Harden for 7 years, especially in the Mike D'Antoni 7 seconds or less offense, right? When you can't make any sort of headway towards the championship if you don't move the ball. If you don't have proper ball movement, it's just not going to happen, right?
Thank you. I said that. Then we had 0 the first 2 games.
Well, if you looked at the lineup, there wasn't going to be any ball movement in this lineup.
Exactly, and that's what I don't even understand what I like Doc as a coach, but sometimes his moves really puzzle me. Seriously, I mean, it's very puzzling.
Again, if you look back at the history of Doc Rivers, it's not puzzling at all. Like all the way back to even Orlando, he has been a player's coach. Like he only puts a rough framework in. His offense assistant usually controls most of the offense. His defensive assistants usually control most of the defense, and he guides the team with the overarching strategy, relying on his best players to make the best decisions for the team. And we have two players who can do it, but their default is make the best play for themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. And also real quick before I go, I want to talk about the Lakers and the Clippers. I liked what I saw from the Lakers. Defensively, they were really, really good. They only had 9 turnovers in comparison to the Clippers who had 21 turnovers. They were begging just for the Lakers to take the game. But when you get out rebounded by 20 rebounds, the Clippers had 58 rebounds. The Lakers only had 38 rebounds. When LeBron James is your leading rebounder, that's an issue. And LeBron James is a capable rebounder, but at his age, year 20, he shouldn't be leading your team in rebounds on any night if you want to compete, right? I just feel like for the Lakers to improve, they're either going to have to improve their three-point shooting and their overall shooting, because overall their shooting has just been horrible. They were 35% from the field last night and only 20% from three. 9 of 45 is just astronomically bad. I can't even explain it. So I think they're going to have to bring some shooters in. I don't know where they're going to get them from. Either that, or they may have to try to stagger a LeBron and Russ's minutes just to try to open up the floor. Let Russ take control of the second unit and let him sort of drive that second unit. I think that's where he'll be most effective.
All right, appreciate it. Yeah. Well, we're not quite there yet for everybody else who's waiting, because all of a sudden I got like a whole bunch of hands that popped up. We got another 18 minutes and we'll switch over to the Lakers Clippers full time. I want to clear some of these hands off, so we're going to go rapid fire. We're going to give 60 seconds up to Bonkai next, and we got Micah, JFK. We'll close out with Jose. I got to get Joel up here as well to get his take, and then we're going to get ready to move on to the Lakers and Clippers, because I know there's some Clippers fans up here who are going to want to cook the Lakers, and then everybody else who's not a Lakers fan is going to want to cook the Lakers, because as bad as the 76ers looked last night, and ladies and gentlemen, they looked bad at times. They looked infinitely better than the Los Angeles Lakers. So I take solace in that. Up next, we'll go to Bonkai for 60 seconds. Bonkai, the show killer, good morning. How you doing?
Yeah, good morning, Chris. Good morning, everybody. To my Nick brothers, Jay from Florida, Breeze, Jay, Nicky, Sean. See you. I didn't watch the Sixers game, but I did watch the Lakers game, so I want to speak on that a little bit. And I have an offer for Laker fans, so maybe they might be interested in that. And Chris, you're telling me you won't watch the Batman, but you're gonna watch Black Adam, a movie that's getting bombed by terrible reviews? Come on, bro.
There's a reason, and I'll save you for the Lakers talk, but there's a reason for it, because by them doing this, it opens the door for DC to stop being singularly character focused around Batman. Like, if you think about it, the last 30 years of your life, really, when it's to DC movies, is Batman. Like, none of the Superman movies hit it big. Flash is not around. Like, what do you want? Like, it's been Batman. Whole bunch of different iterations of Batman. And the thing is, it's a bad concept. All the villains steal the damn scenes. All the other characters steal the damn scenes. The only thing you get from Batman is an angry, lonely dude who needs a hug and some therapy, right? At least with Black Adam, you understand that you're going to go watch The Rock, play The Rock, and be The Rock with just the name Black Adam, but still be The Rock. I find that hilarious. So I'm going into it as a comedy. Let me get the other hands up, and I'll get you back, Bonkai, as we get ready to start Lakers and Clippers in 15 minutes.
Thank you, Chris.
Up next, we will go to JFK. JFK, go ahead. We have Micah, we have Ivan, Jose, and Joel. John, are you up here for Clippers, Lakers? Do you have something for the Sixers? Because you keep opening your mic.
Because I just heard some Batman propaganda here. That come on, man.
It's not propaganda. It's the truth. That's the problem. You just don't like to admit the truth. It's the truth. But we're going to go to JFK for 60 seconds. JF, go.
Yeah, Chris, good morning. Man, it's the second day of NBA season, and did the Glen River syndrome already hit? I'm trying to figure out. I
Oh
thought we
no,
had
man,
two.
not here. Glenn Rivers is a great coach.
Man, I don't know, man. It seems like it kind of hit a little bit early in the season. I was thinking around like January, February. Start to get a little bit stuffy nose, started getting a little cramped up legs
You
here
see
and
what you
there.
started, Chris?
So, first things first, shouts out to my dog, the other Philly fan. I know he had his profile changed, so I'm pretty sure that states the state of emergency for the 76ers right now, Chris. Man, $30 million. Would you rather have to stay on the Heat, or do you still need that dog on defense? And lastly, I'm here to talk about the games coming up, Chris.
All right, I'll get you back up here after we get a little transitional break, and because I know you're going to want to talk Celtics and Heat. Up next, we will go to Micah. Micah, 60 seconds.
Hey Chris, how you doing today? Man, I'm gonna tell you, I see the same thing from Joel that I seen from Harden in a lot of his career, and that's relying on the line to be dominant. Like somebody put out a crazy stat a while back that showed ratios of field goals attempted compared to free throws attempted, and it was insane. So I think that also plays a big part in why they play him out against teams that wrestle out to play a little bit more physically. But that's my thought.
All right, appreciate it. The Mavs play today. We'll make sure to bring you up also with Jose so we can get a preview of that. Up next, we will go to Ivan. Ivan, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Chris. Hey, thanks for having me on. First time getting to talk on here, but I just got to bring up something that anytime, any level of basketball, really nowadays, I watch it just frustrates me to no end. Is getting the ball into the post. It's absolutely horrendous nowadays. I'm not saying that there's not good passers in the league or even on the college level. Obviously, there's great passers in this league that average high assists, but getting the ball to the block has become a lost art in the game. Um, all the screens you see now are pretty much screen and roll or screening for a shooter or a fade or some sort. Just getting the ball into the post is just a struggle, it seems, for all teams. I mean, you got a big guy like Embiid down there, and I know at times he doesn't play with the motor he probably should, but they're running high pick and rolls, getting the ball in the elbow, and yes, he can hit those shots, but you just look at this team, and with guys like Harden and Maxey, their offense should start with trying to get Embiid the ball every single time on the block, and don't just run him down there and have him play one-on-one on the block, trying to get open and making the post feed that much difficult. Set him some screens in there. Try to get a small on him. Set some little on big screens and get some motion going. There's just too stagnant. If you watch the Lakers, same deal. LeBron got the ball in the post a couple times last night, dominated. And then, after you score a couple times in there, it's just like a good shooter like Steph Curry. You're going to show him more attention. You're going to start bringing some double teams. Um, and it's like, you know, if it isn't a lob pass into the post, guys can't do it anymore. And I don't know where we went. That used to be a required skill for guards. If you go back 10 years ago, if you couldn't feed the post, you weren't getting on the floor. And that's just one of the biggest frustrations I see in the game now for me, especially when you got guys on it.
Chris, can I chime in here real quick with this guy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, he makes an excellent point about entry passes being a lost art, but at the same time, you got guys like Joe that don't know how to seal their man off. Sometimes it's all about effort. You got to completely seal the guy so the entry pass becomes just a simple thing, a routine pass to the inside on the block. Big guys are not going down to the block like they used to. There's no Akeem Olajuwon in the league anymore. But the entry pass is now all the guards. There's a lot of lazy centers out there that are older, veterans, that just refuse to steal them in off thinking the pass is going to get to them anyway. But I agree with the guy. I think the entry pass, the post up is a lost art. Getting down the block, just 7'1", you weigh 450 pounds, Joe. Catch the ball on the block, dominate your guy. Lopez last night, he looked like a speedster. I couldn't figure that out for the life of me. I just think there was an energy thing, and I think there's a cohesion thing on the Philadelphia side. The talent is definitely there, but when you're only putting up 88 points, when Harden's jacking up 30 points a game, that's not a good thing.
Oh, I agree. I agree 100% with you. It's definitely both ways. With entry passes, not being as good anymore, and then like you said, bigs don't go down there and bang like they used to, get physical. And I've been to NBA games. There's when you watch it on TV, you think they call a lot of ticky-tack fouls, but when you go to an act, it's a lot more physical than what it appears on TV. So those guys get away with a lot more pushing and shoving, especially around the basket. That you think that when you watch it on TVs. But I definitely agree. And like I said, it's a combination of bad post entries and his motor of not wanting to get down there and work for the ball. Another guy that I throw into that category, I know you're going to touch on Lakers on the next hour, is AD. He used to dominate, and now instead of playing inside out, he plays outside in. He had Zubac on him last night. Don't get me wrong, Zubac, he's a good player, plays hard, physical. But come on, AD's got to give him 30 every night. He just got to. We're talking about Anthony Davis. 10 years ago, Anthony Davis is giving him 30 with 15 rebounds and 5 blocks. Where is that at? And
We'll
LeBron,
get there.
LeBron is LeBron. I'm never going to complain about his game. He
We'll get there. We got 8 minutes. I want to make sure we get the first hour through. We've got Jose and Joel up next. We also have Froyo up here. He's getting ready to come up here and just like Al and I, take it on the chin. Like let's be honest. We have between the two teams, we have 4 of the preeminent players of the last decade, and we suck. We're horrible. Jose, what you got?
So earlier, you said that Glenn Rivers is the ultimate players coach, and I thought about how Jason Kidd sat Christian Wood for almost the entire fourth quarter, and that's something that I absolutely hate about friendly coaches. I mean, I love players having empowerment, but at the same time, like you see the hot hand, why bench them? Cork Moss, I was really high on him for Eurobasket, Chris. You already know this because I kept messaging you about Cork Moss, and I thought he would have just been a good bench player to just come in and get some buckets up real quick and help y'all possibly pull that game out. But I also have a Lakers trade proposal from the Mavs, so I'll just wait to get to that.
All right, appreciate it. Johnson has also joined us. We're going to get his limitation of the 76ers up next, though. We're going to hit up Joel, the Dutch Nets fan. Look, we are all about inclusion, and we are all about giving a voice. And what's awesome about this platform on Twitter Spaces is we get to meet people like Joel, the Dutch Nets fan. I met him in a room with Saint from Nets Kingdom and Nets Kingdom AJ. Dope Nets fan. He stays up to watch it and come in these spaces to share his passion. So I'm very, very ecstatic that he's able to sneak some time late in his evening to come here and talk. Joel, good morning. How you doing?
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Dutch. I appreciate you, Chris. But I live in Germany currently. But it's afternoon down here. Want to give a quick plug before I get to my piece. I started with Danish Nets Fan, a weekly podcast. So follow us at Worldwide Nets. That's WRLD. We're going to put up at midnight US time. We're going to put them up on midnight our time. So that's Sunday afternoon for you guys. We're going to put up every week our podcast. So if you're interested in Nets, check that out. Then I must say I feel a little bit better now because obviously the season opener was terrible, but I hate the 76ers and I hate the Lakers, so I feel a little bit better now, to be perfectly honest. So basically, what I think about the Bucks is, they didn't play a great game. They're without Chris Middleton, they're without Pat Connaughton, and they're out 1 or 2 other players. And for 3 quarters, they were really much, much better than the 76ers. So I think that the Bucks are quite scary in that sense, especially when they get fully healthy. And I also feel, that at the end of the day, people don't understand when they talk about it that people hate Giannis, that they're not talking about the media, because Giannis is a media darling. But there are players that don't respect him, right? Not only Gilbert Arenas, but if you also look at the tweets during the championship run, people like LeBron and other players, they tweet as soon as Devin Booker scores like 20 points, or if Chris Paul scores like 25 points, or if Luka scores like 25 points, and they all tweet about, oh my God, did you see that game? But none of them tweeted about Giannis until he's dropped 50 in the finals. You know, during his back-to-back MVP seasons, half of the players did not vote for him to be an all-star, right? So I think that the lack of respect for Giannis is not the media, but it's love the players and a certain kind of NBA fan. But the Bucks are going to definitely be good this season, and I think that Giannis deserves more respect. If you compare him to AD, a lot of people say that AD is better, that AD is a top 3 player. But at Fox Sports, they mentioned the stat that AD has been the worst jump shooter for the past couple of years in the NBA. But AD is superior to Giannis, right? A lot of people would say. So looking forward to seeing my Nets play better tonight against the Raptors. And yeah, I'll stick around for the Lakers talk, but I'm happy that your Sixers lost, Chris.
Yeah, I can take that. I'm happy that you are actually launching the podcast. I remember when you were talking about it the last time I was able to go into the net space. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to it one more time from a person who comes from the land that created the most elite condiment side dish salad ever, coleslaw. Joel, Sundays, you say you're going to release it. Go ahead and give them the date and the address one more time.
Yeah, so we're going to release it on Sunday afternoon for US time, Eastern time. And, on Twitter, we're at Worldwide Nets Pod. So that's WRLD, Worldwide Nets Pod on Twitter. We're also on Twitch and YouTube and whatnot. My man Chris at Danish Nets fan, he's the one who does all the technical stuff. So you might want to give him a follow as well. But Sunday afternoons, Eastern time.
All right, and we'll be sure to add that up here in the show the next time that they're here so that we can give you guys a direct link. Appreciate it, Joel.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, we've got one more person to talk to. That is my friend and fellow 76ers fan, Jonathan Hattie Hart Harris. We'll bring Al in right after him, too, to close up on the Sixers and Bucks fiasco. Because, again, as somebody just eloquently put, they didn't have Chris Middleton. Drew Holiday and Grayson Allen combined to just barely be better than Russell Westbrook and Pat Beverly. They didn't have 4 of their other major rotational pieces, and yet somehow managed to beat the 76ers by 2 points. John, we suck, but Glenn Rivers is still a great coach. What you got?
Chris, my buddy, my guy. It's thank you for having me up, Chris. I want to say that first before I get started. Here's the thing, Chris. And I knew when I came in here today. I knew what time Chris was going to be on. I talked to him in the DMs sometimes, you know what I mean? I listen to Hoop Spaces, and I already know Chris's energy, man. He's panicking right now. It's the first 2 games of the season. My boy Chris, he's upset. He's sad. He's like, how do we lose to the Bucks? So let's put things in perspective real quick, Chris, real quick. So it's the first 2 games of the season, and let me say something first before you say, well, we all know it's early. Everybody says it. No. These 2 games we played the Celtics and the Bucks. Okay, now granted, the Bucks didn't have Middleton, a couple rotational pieces, as you stated, but these are 2 games that are toss-up games, especially in the regular season. So we could have easily went 2-0, but we can easily go 0-2, and we know what happens when you lose them, right? Everybody goes, "Oh my God, the Sixers lost. The Sixers suck. They're never going to figure it out." Glenn Rivers. That's when they start bringing out Glenn Rivers instead of Dot Rivers. You know what I mean? All the disrespect. It's okay. I'm gonna tell you why, Chris.
That's part of Chris's fault.
I'm not, Chris.
It is not my fault. I have emphatically said and put it out on tweet. Doc Rivers is a great coach.
Let me hold on. So here's the thing, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm not worried, because I'm not gonna take too long. But I had to come up here, and I got to get things right. because we're not going to do this, Chris. We're not going to start the season like this, man. We're not going to just panic. In a couple weeks, we're going to be happy. Watch, we're going to be here celebrating. But here's the thing. We still got the boogeyman, okay? The boogeyman is Joel Embiid. And what we need to do, your boy Doc Rivers, man, because I'm tired of y'all with this Glenn Rivers mess, man. Doc Rivers throughout the regular season. So we already know Joel Embiid can drop 30 a night. We already know he's the best big man in the NBA. We don't have to have him try to dominate every single game individually. What we need to do is start using him more throughout the regular season as a traditional big man. As you saw how my boy Big Zubac did last night. Sometimes we just need you to go catch some lobs. We need you to just get in the post, and we need you to rebound. We don't need you to be in the mid post all game or shooting threes. That's one thing. Sometimes we need it, but most of the time to win games, we don't. So I think we got to switch up the strategy, and I hope the coaching staff can figure out how we can glide through this regular season. At the end of the day, we're going to turn around. The best part about this is James Harden looks like a monster again. He looks like he's ready to dominate on offense. He's putting in good effort on defense. I do want to see him and Maxey share the point guard role a little bit more, and I think that'll give us some versatility. And we do play quicker. We do play quicker with Maxey running the point guard. But I'm not worried, man. At the end of the day, man, come on, man. I'm not worried about these first years. Are y'all crazy, man? We're talking about practice, man. We're talking about the first 2 games of the season, man. Not June, not April, not June. We talking about October, man. Come on, man. Y'all better stop playing with these Sixers, man. We're going to be good. We still in the top 4 seed. And I'm going to see y'all when it really matters. But I'm going to still be here all season because y'all not going to come crazy, man, talking about the Sixers suck. The Sixers lost to the Bucks. The Bucks are man, come on. We good, man. I'm not worried about that. Come on, Chris. Get your energy right, man. We good, brother. I promise you.
I'm with you, man. And Doc Rivers is a great coach. He is going to figure this out. Scott, I know you want to hop in here. Go ahead. I'll give you some time, and then we're going to get ready to reset the room as we go in to a team that doesn't have a great coach, and we're going to be talking about those Los Angeles Lakers. That's right. Darvin Ham he is getting hammed up on Twitter. If you didn't see it yesterday, there is a picture floating around with Coach Darvin Ham holding up the drawing board for play, and on there, he pulled the Doc Rivers. Is he a genius? We don't know yet, but we'll get there. Scott, what do you got closing us out on the Sixers? Thank you, everybody. Good morning.
Well, I'm just saying, the Sixers are still going to be in the playoffs. The guy made an excellent point, gliding through the season. But I still say there's some serious issues between Maxey and James Harden. And it's funny that you said that Doc Rivers is a player's coach. Well, I think that's partially right. I think he's a player's coach. Last night, he called a timeout, and I just tweeted out that he's calling a timeout to draw up an isolation play for Harden. So how difficult is that? Maxey, give Harden the ball, shoot it. So that to me, that's just the basic things going on right now. Harden owns this team. Doc Rivers is a good coach to a certain extent. I'll give that credit where it's due. But right now, Harden is pretty much dominating this team. The wins are going to come through Harden at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let me answer this question from Santa Rosa. And once again, tell everybody down below, if you can't come up because you're working and you want to be involved and you want to engage, we are here for you. There's a chat box down below. I hop into it when I can. And just like this, we'll try to get these answers questioned. I have a tweet out there explaining, hey, like they play the same position, et cetera, et cetera. But I have a follow-up tweet saying there's a difference between cohesion and chemistry, right? So this whole off season, we saw stories out of Los Angeles. We saw stories out of Brooklyn about this idea that they had to build chemistry. There were pictures of players going to dinner, going to the movies, having a good time. And that's great. That doesn't build chemistry. That builds cohesion, right? So the difference between chemistry and cohesion is being able to group together and have a amiable or more positive working relationship. Like you enjoy and can move as a unit. Chemistry is the actual ability to execute complex tasks that are based out of cohesion. Like if you don't have cohesion, you'll never have chemistry. If you don't have chemistry, you can still have cohesion because you can still be a team. And I say that because you can look at the likes of the Houston Rockets, you can look at the likes of the Orlando Magic, who are younger and have built the last couple of seasons the beginning blocks of cohesion, gaining talent so they can now implement a system to create chemistry. So that's when you have the coaches alternate lineups to see what players are able to play with each other slightly better, what they can do as a coach to scheme to put them in the best position so that they can gel into a functioning unit on the floor. That's the difference for me between chemistry and cohesion. And the media, which someone DM'd me last night that I'm a part of the media. Bro, I don't get a paycheck. I do this out of passion. The media just use chemistry because for the last 30 years, that was the buzzword that's been pounded. Chemistry, chemistry, chemistry. Look at the chemistry, look at the chemistry. And we just kind of now use that as a broad term instead of actually using specific points of what each thing is. So the Sixers as a team have cohesion. Part of the reason why they brought in Daniel House, part of the reason they brought in PJ Tucker was to make the environment better for James Harden, right? To insert cohesion into the already pre-existing equation. Doc Rivers' sole job, which he is a great coach and will be able to do this, is to take that cohesion with the players and create chemistry, right? That's the job that he's got to do. And the problem that I have, and I said this last year, is his style is antithetical to my style. And that's the difference. However, he is a great coach. I'm going to close this segment out with Jonathan and Al, two of my favorite 76ers fans, because they didn't just yell at me and wish death upon my mother, which that happened last year as well. John, Al, anything you got to say as we close out the Sixers loss to the Bucks?
I put it in the comment section because I didn't know you were coming back. But the quote, the great Aaron Rodgers in football, relax. That's all I have to say. Relax. We'll be fine.
John, what you got?
Before the shrooms or after?
John, you got anything you want to add in here?
Me, John, right, Chris? You talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you came. Thank you, brother. Thank you. So real quick, I want to say a couple things just about the Sixers for actually being on the court. We got to figure out, in my opinion, how to get Maxey involved with the second unit more. I want to see Maxey run the second unit a little bit more. I want to see him be able to fly up and down the court. I want to see them move the ball and just running gun style with Maxey. Because I'm tired of when Maxey's off the ball, as much as I love him, he's not really an impact player like we need him to be. So I want to see him. He can catch and shoot, but when he's really dominating, when he's really playing his game, he's got the ball in his hands. He's moving, he's flying, he's laying the ball up, he's shooting, he's doing anything he wants to do, and he got the handles. And one last thing I want to say, I know you got to move on, Chris, but I heard this guy, Dutch Nets fan, talking about, I'm so happy the Sixers lost. Chris, your Sixers lost. I feel good. That's what I feel good about, Dutch Nets fans. That you have the biggest fraud in the NBA on your team, Benjamin Simmons. We're not even going to call him Benjamin. We're going to call him Benjamin because you can't put the J in there because he has no jumper. Benjamin Simmons is on your team, and that's what I'm happy about, Dutch Nets fan.
That's hilarious.
All right, that's how you win the segment with the 76ers. Ladies and gentlemen, that was good. I love that. Jonathan Hattie is a dope follow. Make sure you follow him. Sundays Off for Basketball is the YouTube show. We'll get that up hopefully when we get a YouTube coordinator for Hoop Spaces so that you'll be able to catch all of his great takes on one place. And I say that. Go ahead, John. What you got?
I was just gonna say, also, guys, if y'all want to follow my the podcast and the content on Twitter, Sunday is for basketball is the handle. So check us out. You know what I mean? I do goofy commentary videos. I make funny videos during highlights, and we break down the team's plays and things like that. So check us out on Twitter as well. If you're not, if you don't catch us on YouTube, I appreciate it.
All right, we got to work on that elevator pitch, bro. We're gonna get you right.
We're gonna get me right, brother. But at the end of the day, y'all gonna get this good content, man.
That is right. It's
oh my God,
content.
this was Malika. I'm scared, bro. I might have to get out of here, brother. She coming. I know she got to come crazy.
Don't be scared. She's good. She is a wonderful content creator in her own right. Malika Walker of the Rewind Pod joining us as co-host as we get ready to go into the second hour of Hoop Spaces. Happy Friday. Give yourself a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. You made it to the weekend. We will be talking Charles Barkley into the third hour, after 12 o'clock sometimes. We're going to give you a taste of what the Rewind Pod can be as we dive into the history of one of the greatest players and contributors to basketball history. That's right, the 76ers own Charles Barkley. Yeah. Chuck is the dude. And if y'all don't like Chuck, I don't care. Like, I really don't. He comes from a different era. Get over it. It'll be all right. All right.
Can I say something before we dive into the next content?
Every time I try to get this,
I just want to say one small thing, and that's it.
Well, you just did say a one small thing, so I guess that's it.
Lost, Jonathan. Yeah, we have Ben. Ben can only get better. He can't get any worse.
Are you sure about that?
It's been 100 years and he ain't get better.
Yes,
are you sure about that? Because last night, Patrick Beverly gave his best Ben Simmons impersonation.
Still lost.
All right.
Benjamin Simmons will not get better, Malika. That's the promise.
See, you said something real quick, and now we're extending it past more time.
Done. I just wanted to remind
Chris,
Jonathan
you mentioned the Nets.
Still lost. Goodbye.
You mentioned the Nets 5 times, and Malika pops up like
and Bankai, the Knicks lost as well.
See,
so
you know what's funny is it's like she keeps saying that they lost, and she's only saying this because they lost, and they lost worse than we lost.
With us, you lost too.
And the best part is, Chris, we don't have Benjamin Simmons on our team,
and y'all still lost, Jonathan.
Yeah, you know who looks really good? Malika, preach. James Harden looks good, ladies and gentlemen. As we enter the second hour, we look good, and you look good, and you can look better. Lost. And you are still going. Read time. Read. Now read. There we go. Hoop Spaces is here to present y'all's voice. That's what we just did. We are about you. You are about ball. Raise your hand if you want to come up in the second hour as we talk Lakers and Clippers, because there's a battle in LA brewing, and Lakers fans just aren't objective enough. The Clippers are here, and the Clippers are about to take over Los Angeles. We'll get into that. But first, if you haven't yet, do us the favor, subscribe to the newsletter. It's just me right now, but trust me, you're going to get content from the likes of Malika Walker, Jonathan Hattie Hart. You're going to get Michael Scotto. You're going to get from Hoops Hype. You're going to get C. Hendo covering the Mavs. There's a whole bunch of stuff in this one free newsletter. And all you got to do is put an email address in. That's it. If you're interested, just check it out. 100% free. And if you don't sign up, I'm not mad at you because you might have a whole bunch of stuff. But I guarantee you, when you look at the episodes that we put out on the opening week, you'll say, oh my God, it's straight to the point. There's nothing there to try to distract and push a narrative, and you're going to enjoy it. So make sure you click that subscribe button. Also, we are brought to you by slamgoods.com, our sponsor for season 2 of Hoop Spaces. Head over to slamgoods.com, use promo code HoopSpaces, save 15% off your entire purchase site-wide. I tell you what, it is fired. The NBA is back. We are happy, but not the Lakers. The Lakers are not happy. If there's any team that looked worse than the 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets, that is the Los Angeles Lakers. And we are here to talk about it now. But to the victor goes the spoils. We will go first to Jordan. Jordan, congratulations, sir. You are victorious. How you doing this morning?
Chris, it's just another day. It's another Friday. You already know. Last night was no surprise. I'm a little upset that KP left because I had something from him earlier talking about we don't look dangerous. when our best player on our team is coming off the bench because he chose to, and we still go out there and handle business. He closed the game out, hits a big shot. That's all that matters. We could have won by 1 point. It wouldn't have mattered. We knew we was gonna beat them. I mean, just look at the lineup. Player of the game was definitely Zubac. Zubac was pounding AD on the boards, getting second chance points. He was just amazing. John Wall, as I said, was going to be a great fit. People counted him out because of the years he had and the injuries and stuff. But as I said, coaching means everything. And Ty Lue, one of the best coaches in the NBA at this time, can definitely he's adjusting. He's doing some lineups that scared me last night, but he trusted his players. And all I have to say is that PG had he scared me. Too many turnovers. He was playing a little hesitant. But I mean, I could definitely have seen that because this is him and Kawhi's first game back together, so they're trying to get back in action. But as I said, last night was just another game to us. We don't care about no Battle LA. We don't get no trophy or nothing for it. We're just here just to try to win a championship. And Lakers, to me, they're no threat to anybody. I really think the Kings would be better than them, but that's just me talking shit right now. But other than
Are the Kings better than the Lakers?
hey, listen, that it is a hot take for me because the way that the Kings, I think, probably can come out, Chris. I don't know because Lakers, it's a hard fought battle. But once again, when you have LeBron as the leading rebounder and when LeBron's playing hella minutes like that, he's not gonna last. I mean, he paid millions on his body, but come on now, he don't have nobody who's gonna help him out. 80. No, I seen the little fall that he had yesterday. I pray that he stays healthy. Like that's just one player I am actually hoping that stays healthy. Other than that, everybody know I'm a Patrick Beverly fan, but prayers down to him last night of him making that comment. What's the biggest thing of the Battle LA? He said winning. He didn't win last night. He might always get used to that on that side. So
Man, Pat Bev is going to get it this year. Pat Bev is going to get. I respect the hell out of Pat Beverly. I love the podcast he's got going on. He is an entertaining individual and he's extremely smart. But last night, he proved why Russell Westbrook was still better. That's all I got. We're going to go to John, who's also a Clippers fan. We'll bring him in here. And then we got Froyo coming up here to be the Lakers apologist and excuse maker for Hoop Spaces this morning as they lose 103-97 to the Los Angeles Clippers. John, good morning. Thank you for your patience. Your team 1-0. John Wall looking great. PG, yeah, he kind of looked off, but I think that was more of a not understanding that he is now the transitionary star role. Bringing Kawhi Leonard off the bench, which, by the way, I think is phenomenal. Your thoughts on the game last night, John? Good morning.
Good evening. Actually, it's 11:18 p.m. And first things first, it's a great day because Midnight's is out. We gotta listen to one of the best artists out there, and that came a few minutes after the Los Angeles Lakers lost to the other side of the Staples for the 33rd time in the last 40 regular season games. We're 8-0 when Ty Lue is coaching this team against their contenders. Although we looked sloppy today, we were turning the ball over. We were very mistake prone. I mean, Russell Westbrook played well enough to get 5 steals earlier today rather. So Russell Westbrook played very well on the defensive end of the court. Unfortunately, you got to put the bucket onto the hole. That's the objective of this game. And that backcourt trio of Kendrick Nunn, Patrick Beverly, and Russell Westbrook went 1 for 25 from the field yesterday. I don't know how you're going to win when you're shooting 1 for 25 combined from 3 guys. Okay? And then, hope, Anthony Davis is feeling much better because, after that hippie incurred sore hip. He incurred after being faked out of a Kawhi layup, I think, in the second half. And you saw that he was barely like, himself. And that is why he gets they call him Mr. Glass moniker. He gets so nicked up every game he plays. You don't know if, you're going to get a full 48 out of him. You don't know if you're going to get, injured and all that. And on the other side, John Wall looked good. John Wall looked very good. And he doesn't mind where he starts. He doesn't mind where he's coming off the bench. You know, that's good. I mean, he's bought into the concept. Kawhi Leonard doesn't play the entire first quarter, plays like 21 minutes, and it's just cool. Just relax. He just got his latest update on his system. He even got to talk a little bit during the press conference and on the post game interview. So he's doing just fine. We're just chilling out there. Tinkering Ty will figure out this whole turnover problem when he gets a full hand of where he have with their next 20 games. I know Kawhi's probably going to be sitting one of the games this weekend. So we'll just chilling and we'll just keep on listening to the new album that came out today. So thank you very much, and I hope you all have a great day.
All right. I hope you enjoy your Friday night, and I hope you bask in the glory of the Clippers' victory, which is probably the first of many this year. Up next, we're going to go to I Hate Being Froyo, at Hate Being Froyo, the Lake Show Froyo, the Froyo that saw his team start 0-2 like the 76ers, and like the 76ers, is left with questions. Froyo, season 2, appreciate you coming in. And ladies and gentlemen, shoot Froyo a follow, because I'm sure sometime this season the jukebox of Froyo is going to go down again. Phenomenal entertainment. Froyo, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Good morning, everybody in the room, man. Um, yeah, I mean, everybody knows it's the Lakers, man. We're not good. We haven't put ourselves in the position to be good, and it's all on the front office. We can't play. They didn't give us the roster to sorry, to be able to shoot with LeBron and AD, play off them and all that. And, man, it's stressful. It's stressful. But I'm not here to make excuses. I'm here to say that everybody in this Lakers organization needs to be held accountable, because we seen this coming when they started making all these moves before even getting rid of Russ. Like, how do you have plan A still there when you make a plan C move? Like, it makes no sense. But I just want to say shout out to the Clippers, man. John Wall looks amazing. I'm glad he's back. He's always been one of my favorite point guards. Kawhi Leonard. I don't know why this man decided to troll us and not play the first quarter of the game, and then come in the game, bro. You didn't need to rest. He came in and hit a jumper on our defense like it was nothing, and then he's just cool cat, man. Cool cat. But yeah, shout out to the Clippers, man. This is your year. This is the Clippers' year, man. If they don't do it, it's just another Clipper year to me. But I think they can do it, and it's just on them to do it. But also, I want to say shout out to Russell Westbrook, man. He balled out. Besides not shooting, because nobody on the Lakers can shoot right now, so that's not saying much. But his defense late in the stretch on Kawhi Leonard was really clutch, and I'm like, it looks good. Like, people were telling me he can't guard wings, but I seen he's athletic enough to guard these wings if he actually locks in. And it looks like Darvin Ham has these guys locked in on the defensive end, because the Clippers had plenty of chances to put the Lakers out, but the Lakers kept fighting. So it's an improvement from the first game, and I like our defense, because even in the first game our defense wasn't as bad, but it's just we can't shoot. If we can shoot, we probably win one of the two games that we just played.
All right. So last night, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for the Lakers: Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Pat Beverly, Lonnie Walker the fourth. Starting lineup for the Clippers: Morris Senior, Powell, Zubac, Jackson, Reggie Jackson, who was actually listed as probable. He's got a little bit of a bang up issue, but he started, played 23 minutes. And Paul George. Ladies and gentlemen, your first winner of the Tony Snell Award, Patrick Beverly of the Los Angeles Lakers, started, played 33 minutes, 1 for 7. He had 2 steals, an assist, 2 blocks, and 5 points. And people are going to wonder why it isn't Russell Westbrook. Well, it's simply this: Russell Westbrook played harder, contributed more stats, and honestly, other than shooting, looked better in Darvin Ham's motion offense than Pat Beverly, who looked like he was a standing statue at the wing. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I'll get that tweet out here. The winner of the season's first Tony Snell Award, it goes to Patrick Beverly. All right, Froyo, that was a great breakdown. Biggest question I have, earlier in the preseason and then right before the season, I said, hey,
Right.
what I see is that Juan Toscano Anderson should start. And one of Patrick Beverly and Russell Westbrook needs to go to the bench. That would allow the Lakers to have Juan Toscano Anderson play defense on the wing, saving LeBron James a little bit because it's going to be a long year. And much like the 76ers, I can't see LeBron James playing 37 plus minutes a game, much like Harden and Embiid. What do you want to see from your guard duo of Westbrook Beverly? Do you think there should be a change just for roster balance, or what do you think can be done as they go in to, a tough stretch over the next 7 games is brutal? What do you got?
I actually do like the Juan Toscano starting. It just makes more sense, like you said. Like it gives the Lakers wing depth in the starting lineup, and like he can guard wings. So like, and that's what we need. And I think Patrick Beverly should come off the bench with Dennis Schroeder when he comes back too. So like I love Patrick Beverly. Like I love his defense. I love that he gives it 150%. But I don't know if Darvin Ham just gave him this green light because he's just pulling up threes like I've never seen him do before. Like I'm so used to him shooting threes in the corner, and now he's just dribbling and pulling up and he's taking clutch shots before LeBron and AD even touch the ball. So like it's weird. It's weird to me. But I think the Lakers should make a change at the starting lineup and switch out Beverly for Juan. And I want to shout out Lonnie Walker too. I forgot he like really balled out too. 26 points. He's just his defense is actually not as bad as I thought. So I like that. If he can just knock down the 3 consistently, then yeah, like he can start as well.
Yeah,
But
I
like
think
you said, this stretch coming up is kind of tough. But I think we can turn it around with the Blazers. We got the Jazz in there, and I think, man, the way it's looking, I think we steal a game from the Nuggets.
I hope so
Super
because
optimistic, but I think we can steal one game from them.
the Jazz just put a 20 piece on the Nuggets, so
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I'd be more
like
worried.
anything is
I'd be
possible.
more
Right?
worried about the Jazz. All right, Froyo, when you bringing back the jukebox?
I don't know. Right, I don't really have a timeline right now. I just started a job, my new job, and about to start coaching as well. So I'm trying to figure out like how I'm gonna get the time to do it. But we're definitely gonna bring back the jukebox.
All right. Well, I've got a great. If you need help, I've got a great idea that we might be able to help you out as we also get ready to launch the pop culture wing of Hoop Spaces with KP. So we can probably talk again in a week or so and maybe talk offline.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool.
All right. Appreciate you, Froyo. Now we're going to go through the hands, ladies and gentlemen. Rapid fire. If you want to come on up, now's the time. We're going to talk some Lakers. We're going to talk some Clippers. But first, I'm going to give some shout outs. We are halfway through the second hour already. Shout out, ladies and gentlemen, down below to Saint from Nets Kingdom and Nets Kingdom AJ. That is right. If you need some Brooklyn Nets talk, you got to hop in to Nets Kingdom. They are downing the 76ers just to quell their own sorrows as they are wondering what the hell Steve Nash is doing, as we are wondering why the 76ers couldn't beat a Milwaukee Bucks team without Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday going 2 for 15. All right, ladies and gentlemen, check this out. Also, if you love Twitter, and you do because you're here, you need to be better on Twitter. Well, how do you be better on Twitter? You need to follow people who are really dope and cool on Twitter and know what they're doing. Zeke Spoon is in the house. Dope connected here on Twitter. Shoot him a follow. You will see your own follower count grow with people who are looking to grow and be interactive and engaging. Jeff J says is in the building. You can catch it at Bleacher Report, host of the Better Exchange on MSG Networks. Also, live from the Mecca. He came up yesterday. Phenomenal dude. Make sure you shoot him a follow as well. The draft review is in the building. If you are looking for already, and I'm one of these people, if you are already looking towards the draft, if you're already looking about who's next, go to the draft review. You need to shoot him a follow. NBA historians gone all the way back in time, getting ready to release a great book giving you the history of basketball in the NBA, as well as the upcoming NBA draft. He's got all the player breakdowns and profiles. And I need to take a drink of water, so I'm going to hit this button, and we're going to talk some ball. First, we're going to go to Jose. Ladies and gentlemen, host of 77 Spaces. We'll get his thoughts on the Lakers' futility. Jose, good morning.
Good morning, Chris. So I just shared something from Bleacher Report that says Paul George is partnering up with BetterHelp.com to help to donate $3 million in free therapy. I actually used BetterHelp a year ago, and it's a great format. It works with you within budget. So if you need therapy, I mean, check out BetterHelp. I'm sorry about the ad, but it's a really good platform. I've used it before as well. And something that I wanted to propose to Laker fans for a trade. So I have Tim Hardaway Jr., I have Davis Bertans, and I have Dwight Powell for Russell Westbrook. Reason being is you give me Russ.
Deal. Let's do it right now. Deal.
You give me Russ. You give me another ball handler on my bench. You get two capable shooters in Tim Hardaway Jr. and Davis Bertans, and you have a capable center, a pick and roll center, and Dwight Powell. He's a great guy. You'll use him to your best benefit, and then also we get cap space for the upcoming free agency. So that's all I want. Better asset management from Nico.
Yeah, no, I
Wait,
think.
is Tim Hardaway an expiring?
No.
Oh hell no, Don. No.
Hey, y'all
What are you like beggars can't be choosers?
Hey, I'm a beg. I'm sorry. I'm a beg and chooser. I'm sorry.
What do you think you're gonna get? What do you think you're gonna get for Westbrook? Like what do you think you're gonna get? You gonna get something better than that?
We ain't getting much. Like what we gave up for him, I promise that's not what we're gonna get back. So like at this, like I just want wing depth. Like,
you just said you needed shooters. He's giving you shooters and wing depth.
Yeah, but man, like how many years is left on Hardaway's deal?
2.
I believe 2. And
okay,
Davis
I mean that's kind of like Buddy Hield, well. But I like Buddy Hield better than that.
THJ is cheaper.
Turner.
You ain't
and then you
ain't getting Miles Turner.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if I had to, if I'm choosing the deal between the two deals, I might take the Pacers one. Because Bertans' contract is nasty too, right?
Like, yeah, well, it's 15. It's not as bad as you think.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, you're paying Pat Bev 14 essentially.
Oh God, man, stop beating him up, man.
All right, Philly Froyo. Let me get these other hands up here. We're gonna go to Joel, the Dutch Nuts fan. We'll get him because he's ahead of time in here, and I want to make sure he can enjoy his Friday evening. Joel, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to quickly say that I didn't think that Schreuder, that the Lakers needed him, because I thought, like, okay, you already get Pat Bev, you have Russell Westbrook. You have Kendrick Nunn, who played point guard for the Heat. So why do you need Dennis Schroeder? But after seeing the Lakers play these 2 games, like, they need Schroeder. Like, let's be honest, because he's going to shoot better than from 3-point than the other players have been shooting thus far. So I never thought that Schroeder would necessarily be a big impact player, but he can be. So I don't think he's going to be out that long. But I think the Lakers need that. I heard this Clippers fan before say, like, I don't care if we win if we would have won by 1 point. And I understand why he said that, because the Clippers, needed to, get Kawhi back into the fold, and Paul George wasn't playing great the entire game, and there were a lot of things actually lacking for the Clippers. But I never felt that the Lakers were going to win that game, right? So some Lakers fans might say, like, yeah, it was a close game and we could have won the game with better shooting. I think that the Clippers would have stepped on the gas, and I think there is no way that the Lakers would have won that game. I felt that the Clippers just looked more comfortable, even though they're still looking for their team chemistry, getting used to each other again, bringing Kawhi back in the fold. But I just don't see where the Lakers are going to go with this roster. Last season they had like the easiest roster, to start the season. So I'm glad that now they actually have to play a difficult start, so we can see actually how good the Lakers are, and they're just not a very good team. So, and let's see where they go. But I don't see, where the Lakers go from here with this roster. They're going to be in the play-in if they're lucky.
I you know what? I don't even know if things hold that they make the play-in, because what happens if Anthony Davis goes down?
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
That's scary.
That's fair.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got 5 more to go through. We also have Scott. We'll try to get him in here. Up next, we're going to go to TJ. We'll hit Breeze, Bonkai, Quentin. We'll let Froyo respond to all of them, and we'll give my friend Scott from Inclusion Brand Bourbon, Kentucky Straight Bourbon, to close out here on the segment before we get ready to go to Charles Barkley. TJ, good morning.
Morning, Chris. I'm on the road, so if it gets a little spotty, forgive me. I wanted to say this Lakers-Clippers game, just like KP said, wasn't all that for me. Like, the Clippers, the balance scoring, all good. John Wall looked pretty decent. I wanted to see more from Rocco. I didn't really get to see him do the things that he normally does on the outside. But let's talk about the Lakers, because I like to do that negatively. So Lonnie Walker is y'all third best player, and y'all need to give him more opportunities. Pat Bev over there was looking like a conductor, or one of those people that was sitting in front of an orchestra, just moving people around but not doing anything. Westbrook was he was bad offensively, but he did other things. But there's no depth on that Lakers bench, and for them to only lose by what was like 4 or 5 points, that is something that the Clippers might want to look at. I mean, it's the second game of the season. I get it. But the Lakers have some abilities to get better. They just need to do something with that bench. And the last thing I got to say is about the coach, Darvin Ham. When you go and put stuff on a white erase board or whatever the heck that thing is, make sure your spelling is correct. He said fouling with 2 L's, and that doesn't have 2 L's. So that's all I got.
Yeah, he did. I'm telling you that was one of the funniest things that I needed in my life. I needed that yesterday. I'm not going to lie. It really did make me feel better, only momentarily, as we still found out that the 76ers, who still have a great coach and Doc Rivers, just couldn't beat the Bucks, and the Lakers loss did help me feel a little bit better. Appreciate you, TJ. Bonkai, 60 seconds. Then we got Breeze Quentin. We are joined by Edwin Garcia, writer at Lakers SB Nation, Swish Appeal, LakersTakes.com. We're going to break down the game X's and O's with him as well. But we'll go next to Bonkai. 60 seconds. Go.
Yeah, the Lakers offense looks like vomit. They have no real shooting out there, so I'd like to make an offer to them. We have Evan Fournier on the Knicks roster, so if they want some shooting, you can have them. And that's the offer. I mean, it looks like an offer that you can't refuse, so might as well take it.
Evan
You need some
Fournier.
shooting. You need some shooting, and I'm just
Man,
saying.
give me
Evan
Cam
Fournier,
Reddish. We may have. Give me Cam
Evan
Reddish, and
Fournier's
then
a
maybe we could
shooter.
talk, man. Like, stop playing with me.
No.
Fournier.
You can take Evan Fournier straight up. He's a shooter. You need shooting. You can't say no to it.
Man, he plays no defense. We need defense as well.
You don't need defense right now. You need shooting.
We need defense.
I don't know. I think you need both. Anybody else think they need both?
We definitely need both. But
Westbrook and Patrick Beverly over there clanking.
Evan Fournier
right.
only plays
I don't know.
Like, he only plays against 2 good teams, like the Celtics. Honestly, it's just the Celtics.
Honestly, just the Celtics. You know what? He is trending down. I thought he was going to be pretty good for a long time coming out of Denver. and then he just kind of became Evan Fournier that we know now. But I will tell you, the Lakers do need, I think, more shooting. But I think they have the shooting on the roster, so I don't think they would go for an Evan Fournier.
Chris, I'm just saying the offer is open. It's open whenever. They can call us.
What I would say, Bonkai, and this is if I was Rob Pelinka, which Rob Pelinka would probably never listen to me because what I'll say makes sense. Isaiah Hartenstein is doing fairly good for the New York Knicks. They got this guy that they just signed by the name of Mitchell Robinson. And if Mitchell Robinson and Evan Fournier want to come on over to Lakerland for Russell Westbrook, as well as another player to make the salaries match, I'm all for that. Let me get Mitchell Robinson next to Anthony Davis. No, you ain't getting no Cam Reddish. Stop it, you.
Come on,
you know that
man.
ain't happening.
Don't get greedy here. I do not. I know it's for to match the contracts, but I do not want Evan Fournier, man.
Look, man, coming off the bench, he gonna be fine for you. Shout out to Paradox. Shout out to Paradox Killer 23. Hey, it's never easy coming up here and talking mental health, right? Like that's just the God's honest truth. I'm a combat vet. I served my country and deployed. I put myself in harm's way. I, too, use mental health services at the Veterans Affairs. And I just want to take the time to back up my man, Jose. Look, there are people who are here to help you. And if you are in a point where you think you need help, reach out. Like, there are people who will direct you to the places such as BetterHelp. If you're a vet, reach out to me. I'll get you in contact with the Veterans Crisis Line. Mental health is important. And I'm going to tell you now, the NBA understands this because they are already, prior to the CBA negotiations, trying to figure out how to create a mental health package for the negotiations with the Players Association. So if these players whom you want to support are talking mental health, then so should you. So shout out and a round of applause to my man, Jose. Up next, we're going to go to Breeze. We got Quentin up here. We'll get Scott some time to get his thoughts off his chest about the putridity of the Lakers, and then we will move to Edwin Garcia as we get ready to talk Charles Barkley at the top of the hour. Thank you, everybody. Breeze, you're up. Good morning.
What's up, Chris? What's up, everybody? Malika Bonkai. I can't read the rest of y'all names. It's my fault, but good morning. I'm becoming a regular here because I like how you running this thing, my guy. But for the Lakers, specifically for Pat Beverly, your stick only works when they win, fam. Like, we're doing all this huddles, we're doing all these motivational talks. You talking to Anthony Davis and LeBron James, fam. How much advice and tidbits and nuggets can you give to people that have been better than you at a higher level for years? Like, get out of my face and cut it out, bro. At some point, just stop it, fam. We get it. You the energy guy, you the hustle guy, you're the gritty guy. There are certain points where you need to go direct that energy where it belongs. Go give it to the young guys, fam. You're not on the Minnesota Timberwolves anymore. You definitely did your job over there. Look at the building you in, fam. Just cut out the antics right now. Just be a regular player. Do your job. The mic'd up segments, the last two games with Ja and Pat, I don't know if I'm starting to just hate mic'd up segments, but come on, bro. Pat Beverly, relax, fam. We don't need you doing all this game in. Well, not we, because I ain't no Lakers fan, thank God. But they don't need you doing all that game in, game out.
Preach! Somebody say something about this watered down Draymond Green. Like, I'm so sick of it. Like, I understand y'all be throwing disrespect at Russ. Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to cut anybody off. But I just felt what he was saying because he was talking the truth. I'm so sorry.
You know me, Jasmine. I'm pro Team Westbrook here. Like, a lot of people just don't like him because he looked funny when he shoot. That's it. That's literally it.
I just want to trade him because he doesn't fit. That's literally
and that's
it. I
fine.
like Westbrook.
That is completely fine. But we're not going to disrespect Mr. Triple Double. That's not happening.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You can have a bad game.
Oh, no, I don't disrespect him. No.
Russell Westbrook doesn't fit, but you could trade for Patrick Beverly.
Exactly. You need shooters, and you brought down the bottom of the barrel, Patrick Beverly, to the Lakers.
Man, he's not a shooter. He's a defender.
Barely.
Y'all say we don't play defense. We get a
He
defender.
defends when he wants to defend.
Now it's a bad defense.
You know what? Russell Westbrook looked good on defense last night. Quentin,
he looked amazing. I told you that.
I know.
That's my highlight. I'm about to actually put out a thread about that.
I'm just saying, like, you still traded for Pat Bev, and it seems that he does the same thing, just less athletically. We're going to go to Quentin next. Jasmine, ladies and gentlemen, has joined the stage. You can follow her at HarperXX Writes, covering the Dallas Wings and all things WNBA. And you already know she's going to be up here to tell you the truth about Russell Westbrook. We have my man, Deshaun Tate. I'm going to get him up in a second. We're going to go to Quentin. We're going to go to Joel because he actually has some great insight into Dennis Schroeder as he's interviewed him for an upcoming documentary. And I'm telling you, we are here. We are live. Year 2 of Hoop Spaces. Do us the favor, like and retweet the show card. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the newsletter. You'll get it's going to be Sunday through Sunday. I am making you the commitment that I will do this every day. You will get a recap, and more importantly, you will get links to the stories from people you can trust and know that you don't have to go ferreting around and reading clickbait, because I've already done that for you. Like, I hate that. It's annoying. Quentin, good morning. Thank you for your patience. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
So, Chris, good morning. Who Spaces? Happy Friday. So about this Lakers game, Lakers definitely should have won this game, to be very honest. Clippers didn't really have a too outstanding game, in my opinion. The Lakers defense was definitely like looking spectacular this game. I feel like the team is better defensively this year than last year. So a couple bad takeaways I have is there's no way in hell Russ, Beverly, and Nunn should for the field. There's no way they do that, and we ever win a game. It is overall just missing shots, and then you have LeBron, AD, and Lonnie, all three collectively going over 20, and we still lose this game. So there's no way in hell these things happen, and we are ever going to win a game. That's just not going to happen. But a couple good takeaways I have is Lakers actually, hit their free throws. They went 85%, which is, pretty decent. I would say than what I've seen from the past. The defense was there, they really had like those couple runs, what I'm saying, where we was down by 15, almost 16. Those defensive runs that we was going, it led to really great offense, which will put us back in the game. But like I said, we just can't hit those timely shots. So where just Clippers just run away with the game. And then lastly, just Lonnie Walker, like he was a really good piece that I feel that we picked up. He's definitely somebody that we're gonna need, as I would say, more as like a third scoring option. You definitely can't rely on LeBron and AD to really kind of carry us throughout the season. So it's really good that we picked him up. I was hearing throughout space last night that he was being too trigger happy, but honestly, I'm not mad about that, as we're gonna need him. So I'll say Lakers just need to figure out their shooting situation. Either we go get another shooter, or they just need to figure out their shooting struggles. But if they don't do that, then we're definitely going to be in the play-in.
All right. Hey, look, I said it earlier. The way it's going right now, I don't know if you guys will be in the play-in. There's some hungry teams out there that seem to have a better opening season mix of players that I think are going to challenge in the Western Conference. And after watching the Jazz, and I watched that game again, y'all, the Jazz aren't tanking. They're not going to win 55 games, but they're not tanking. And if they're not tanking and they hit 42 wins, the Lakers aren't making it, y'all. I'm just telling you this now. Like, if you look at the Jazz, you cannot tell me that they aren't deeper, that they don't have shooters, that they don't have rebounders. That is going to be the litmus test, I think, when we see the Lakers play the Jazz early on in the season. Appreciate you, Quentin. What do you got? Go ahead, Breeze.
Can I ask you a question real quick, Chris?
Sure.
Is Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis in the same bracket of players?
I have something that I want to throw in here, and I was going to bring this up before we transition to Charles Barkley. The Nets, Sixers, and Lakers are all in the same situation. And this is what happens. And you know what? The Bucks are too, because I said this last week. I asked if the Bucks windows is closed or closing. What happens when you get these elite players and you have to pay them these elite salaries is you shrink the availability of help, right? That's how the cap structure works. That's how legislative parity works. And what the Bucks did is exactly what the Lakers did, which is what the Heat did, and that was to appease the current superstar they had. They traded their young assets or future assets to get those players that can play right now. And that's dope. It's cool because you always want to go for that championship. because that's why we play the game. The issue is now Milwaukee is looking down the bench and they've got George Hill, Wes Matthews, and a whole bunch of young players that don't have a lot of burn, right? You look down the Lakers bench last year and now this year, and like you saw that they learned their mistake. And the problem was they had zero flexibility to fix the problem. And Rob Pelinka was caught with his hands behind his back or in his pockets. And that's why you got bailed out by the San Antonio Spurs by rescinding the qualifying offer to Lonnie Walker. Because if they didn't, the Lakers couldn't get him. And guess what? Austin Reeves is starting. So, like, that is indicative of two things. We're on the turn of a generation in NBA basketball. LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, they are on their way on the back nine. And the teams that employ these people are going to have a difficult time creating a supporting cast unless you are Bob Myers of the Golden State Warriors, who through luck and hard work took advantage of a unthinkable situation, losing two of their key players to be able to restock and retool. That's why it's going to keep them afloat. So, yeah, I think it's a huge problem, to answer your question in a long way. All right, I want to make sure I get Jasmine in here. I want Froyo to be able to get in here. But we're going to go to Joel next. We're going to leave Edwin Garcia of LakersTakes.com and Lakers SB Nation last so he can get as much time as he wants before we head over into the third hour here on Hoop Spaces. And then I'm going to make the ask in that transition. Up next, though, we're going to go to Joel and we're going to talk Dennis Schroeder. Thank you for being willing to offer this. You could hold it and say, hey, I'll let you know when it comes out. We are appreciative, my man. Go ahead, floor is yours.
Yeah, so I'm working on this street ball documentary in Germany, and we got lucky because Dennis Schroeder, he was in Germany, was doing a photo shoot, and he was looking for a court to take the photo shoot on, and then they basically contacted the main character of my documentary, and that's why we got to meet him, basically. And I basically hated Dennis Schroeder because I thought he was arrogant, I thought he was a bit weird, and I thought he overestimated himself. And especially after his incident with Kyrie Irving, where he said he would sell all his Kyrie shoes that he has, and I really had a big hatred for him. And also he decided to not play for the German national basketball team because he was going into free agency. He wasn't a free agent yet at that time. He just didn't really want to play for Germany because he wanted to protect his money. So when he lost the bag by betting on himself, I was almost dancing. That's how happy I was about Dennis Schroeder losing all that money by betting on himself. There was an event in Berlin where the guy who runs a basketball program of an YMCA, or in Canada called a community center, that guy invited Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki arrives early. Dirk Nowitzki comes by himself, and Dirk Nowitzki stays till the very end and takes his time to talk with every child. A year later, they invited Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder comes late, is in a bad mood, comes with an entourage, and when they asked if he would sign a couple of basketballs for the kids, he sighed and asked how many, and then they thought, like, okay, maybe we can get him to sign 5 basketballs, and he did, complainingly, and then they thought, like, you know what, never mind. And Nike never wanted Schroeder to come back to that event ever again, to the children's event. So I had figured out what kind of person Dennis Schroeder is. But if you see how him missing the bag changed him, he seems a lot more humble. He's a good leader for the German basketball team. He was great at Eurobasket. He seems to be a different person. Maybe he was always like that, because we don't always know what NBA players are like in real life. But I've totally seen a different side of Schroeder now. Maybe he was actually having a bad day in Berlin. Maybe he had some mental health issues, who knows? Maybe he just wanted to stay healthy for the upcoming NBA season, and he wasn't greedy when he didn't want to play for the German national basketball team. So basically, what I want to say is, like, also we make fun about Ben Simmons, but nobody knows what kind of mental health problems he has. So all I'm saying is, we don't know the players personally in most of the time. So you can't judge a book by its cover, and you never know what's going on in the player's private life. I learned about Dennis Schroeder. I'm not saying he's ever going to be my favorite player, but I do look at him differently now.
Absolutely, and give yourself a round of applause because we call that humanizing. Like you were able to see him as a person, and you were able to put a human, emotional construct and respect him as an individual person. That's big, and that's what we
Yeah.
need to do as fans. Because some of the fans, we don't do that. When's the doc coming out, and are you going to be able to link it to us so we can share it?
So the documentary is still in progress, and we're waiting for the city of Frankfurt actually to approve and build a new court. So it's going to be ready somewhere in summer 2023, so next year. So I can link our first trailer. It will be German, but there's English subtitles. So I will send the link to you, Chris.
Absolutely, and we will watch it. We consume basketball like fish consume water. That's what we do here.
Appreciate you, Chris.
Appreciate you. All right, we got it. We got some rapid fire to go to, so I can get some Edwin Garcia Lakers takes time because he's going to give you the reason why he thinks the Lakers are going to finish 13-7 in the first 20. Up next, though, we're going to talk to a wonderful, wonderful woman who writes very well about the sport of basketball, whether it's women's or men's. That's how dope she is. University of Florida alum, don't hold that against her. Harper XX writes is the handle. Jasmine, good morning. Speak the truth of Russell Westbrook and tell us what you saw with the Lakers last night, or the Sixers and Bucks. Either way, the floor is yours. Good morning.
Hello. I'm not going to add fuel to the fire because my NBA takes aren't for everybody. And I'm gonna let that UF shade go. I'm gonna let that go because I'm gonna keep it cute. That's what we're for. Also, by the way, if you guys are interested in the WNBA or just pure good basketball, we're having a Twitter Spaces tonight where we'll talk about anything and everything WNBA related on and off the court. So if you guys want to join, it'll be at 8:30 on my page. Definitely tune in. I'm not necessarily a Lakers fan. I am a Westbrook fan. So wherever he goes, I go, and we just go from there. But overall, I do think that the Lakers front office made some mistakes this offseason. One of them being Patrick Beverley, because instead of getting a younger defender or a shooter, you decided to go and get him, which didn't really contribute anyway, and then pissed off Westbrook even more. So I did think that he had a bad game last night, but again, this is game 2 out of 82, so I'm not really worried. When we get around like December time, holler at me then. But until then, I don't want to hear nothing about nothing when it comes to Westbrook and the Lakers. Like, they're going to get it together. It takes time, and they have a new roster every year. I'm not a Joel Embiid fan. I take Giannis over Joel, so that's why I said my takes aren't for everybody. I'll leave it right there. But yeah, definitely come hang out tonight if you guys want to talk hoops.
Absolutely. Tell them the time, and do you have the show card already?
Yes, I can send it to you. It is WNBA Roundtable, and it'll be at 8:30 on Twitter Spaces.
All right. If you actually, all you have to do is go to the link icon, hit the link. You can put it up in the jumbotron yourself,
Gotcha.
and then send. We'll all retweet it for you. Because we're here. Like, this is what we're supposed to be doing, ladies and gentlemen, taking advantage of this platform to help build other people's platforms who are passionate and want to share that passion about ball. And Jasmine is one of the best unheralded writers who's going to get known very, very soon. And just like I say about Nat when she's in here, shoot her a follow now. Like, shoot her a follow now, build the relationship now, because soon she's going to be too famous for you. And I'm going to laugh because I said I told you so.
I'm going to laugh at y'all too. I'm just joking.
I'm not. You can boo me too. I'm a laugh. Like, I ain't gonna lie. That's the meanest thing I've said so far this year. If you don't follow her, and when she becomes famous, she ain't got time for you, you can be like, man, I remember her, and I'm just gonna laugh in your face. Like, the petty gonna come out. Speaking of petty, I got a bone to pick with Michigan State college basketball. And Deshaun is the man that you need to follow if you want to follow college basketball. You're going to see him everywhere covering this. And also, congratulations to you on some dope personal use. Deshaun Tate, ladies and gentlemen, my friend. I'm excited. You're going to hear him. The dude eats, sleeps, breathes ball. Deshaun, good morning. How you doing?
I'm outstanding, man. Thanks for asking, Chris. I just want to step in for a second. Typically what I do. Listen, we got, it's flooded in here. There's a lot of people, but this thing can always keep growing. So, You know, you know how I get down, Chris. If everybody in here just pings at least one person to come in and do your part, you love these spaces. People take time out of their busy schedules to make sure that we can all have a platform where our voices are heard, no matter what the, complexion, shades, and colors of everybody look like, and it can be respected. This is a good place for it. So I just want to encourage people to, go ahead and do what's right and just ping somebody else in. I'm not going to be extra long-winded. I'll just say enough to say that, looking forward to the college basketball season and some other good stuff coming down the pipeline. Keep your eyes and ears open for nothing but Nest, Nest, like bird nest. It is the first year of the official Atlanta Hawks podcast, and I appreciate you just for giving me that time. And make sure you guys do your part and put a couple dollars in on the Cash App, man, to keep this thing growing. And everybody knows everything takes a little couple dollars, a little change to make it grow. So go ahead and continue to do your thing. That podcast will be up and running here sometime soon. So keep your eyes, ears open for that. I don't know what the pick about Michigan State is about, and perspective on the Patrick situation.
You started breaking up, Deshaun. We can't hear you. But my issue with Michigan State is, once again, I think they're being underrated. Once again, I think Sparty is going to rise up towards the back end of the season, and once again, for whatever reason I can't figure out, Tom Izzo is going to have another deep tourney team.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Don't give them too much credit. Just they got a busy schedule coming up real soon. Obviously, opening up the season on another aircraft carrier against Gonzaga. Second game of the season, Champions Classic against Kentucky. So that's what you go to Michigan State for, so that you can be on the big stage and play against the big teams. But the last thing I'll say before I run out of here is, I like the addition for the Lakers of Patrick Beverley. You want to win something. We know that is a franchise that's known for winning championships. I'm not saying they're going to win it this year or whatever else, but everything starts with defense. You didn't see those teams last year playing in the NBA Finals like the Celtics and the Warriors, who is, everybody talk about offense. I understand there's a generation in the era that values offense the way it does, but you can't do it without having some of the best defensive teams. And that's something that he brings to the table. And even more so on top of that, he's a guy who wants to win. In this era, sometimes you have to question guys that really want to win, not just about getting paid big bucks. You add a guy who wants to win to any team, and I think that you can see that contribution will bring some optimism. I'll leave it right there, man. I'm up out of here. Have a good one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you shoot Deshaun a follow. Tap in to the Nest, the Hawks Nest, the podcast getting ready to debut, covering the Atlanta Hawks, and also he'll be everywhere you can possibly be for the NCAA men's basketball season. And that Michigan State lineup, they got Northern Arizona, but then they've got Gonzaga, Kentucky, Villanova, Alabama, all ranked in top 20, and I think they can go 5-0. There you go, Deshaun Tate, everybody. Now we're going to get to Edwin Garcia. We're a little bit over time, but that's okay, because I want to make sure he gets 5 minutes to go ahead and break down this game and just tell you why Lakers fans should not be worried and why we are overreacting to the team that's going to finish 13-7 in the first 20. Edwin, good morning.
Having fun, Chris? Sounds like you're having fun.
I'm having a great day. Like, the Sixers are 0-2, the Lakers are 0-2, but when you look at it, I have a great coach in Doc Rivers, and I think he'll get it done.
Sorry, I'm literally a little sick. I don't have COVID. I just got a head cold. So anytime I laugh a lot, like my lungs enlarge and I start coughing. So I apologize for that. So yeah, well, they say misery loves company. So we're in a good vibe here, Chris. But seriously, I mean, I'm not surprised. Unfortunately, this is where the Lakers are. They're a team that's going to be struggling and flirting with 500 if on the good end of the season, and they'll be below 500 if they end up, on the wrong end like they did last season. So this is where they're at. Honestly, I was more encouraged than discouraged from that game. the Clippers deepest bench, blah blah blah, this and that, and I think the Lakers. It's funny, they've been the litmus test for how good a team is, and the Warriors showed, oh yeah, like that's a level. The Clippers did not really show that. I'm not really worried about them. It's game one, but they were very underwhelming. Classic Kawhi. He went from he's a football player, greatest body since Michael Jordan, and now he missed like half the game. And Ty Lue's coaching like this is a finals game, trying to stagger the minutes for Kawhi to be ready in the closing minutes, which funnily enough they actually needed because they tried to give the Lakers the game on several occasions, first in the second quarter and then in the fourth quarter with just these enormous runs. So, the Lakers unfortunately couldn't capitalize on it. We already know about the shooting. Russ did not have a bad game despite the stat line. It was one of those things that it snuck up on me, and I was watching the game like a hawk, covering it for SB Nation and writing the recap. And next thing I know, I'm like, oh, he's 0 for 6. He's 0 for 9. He's 0 for 11. What is going on? Because he was doing everything else right, going after steals. He had quite a few good possessions, especially late guarding Kawhi. He was doing a good job, just not on the offensive end. And of course, when you lose a game by 5 points, that's where you look at. You look at shots that he missed. You look at none missed a 3 late. Patrick Beverley missed a 3 late, and you're like, man, it coulda, woulda, shoulda. Those we don't need all the baskets. We just needed a couple. Can we hit 33% from 3? We probably got to win, and get a couple dagger threes to take it over the top. But that's what happens when you have a team that has a weak supporting cast. You need all of them to play well, or at least a few of them to play above and beyond their average production. And you didn't get that. You can't get 0 points from Russ and get, what was it, like 4 points from Austin Reeves and hope to win the game right now. That's just not the kind of team they are. So the reason I'm not concerned is not because I think this team's going to turn it around and be a top 4 team. It's just the November schedule has 3 games with San Antonio, a couple games with the Pelicans. There's a Kings game in there. There's a Portland game in there. There's a Utah game. We'll see if they are still looking good 6 weeks from now. And that's why I have the Lakers going 13-7. I have them going 1-5 to start. So I'm definitely not, necessarily a believer. It's just the way the schedule works out. November is a lot easier because, as you know, the NBA loves to put the Lakers in big games. So they have this murderer's row to start the season. Just like last year, they played the Warriors, they played the Suns, they played all the top teams. And then they give them a break in November where they kind of play a more humane schedule.
Yeah, no, I seen it when you put it out there yesterday. Of course, I'm gonna make fun of it because it's low hanging fruit. I'm not lying. It's the Lakers, and 13-7 for a lot of people they can't conceptualize, and you can. And you actually did this last year where you went all 82 games and you fared very well. So I actually kind of backed this. I had them at 500. I have them at 10-10 in their first 20. My question to you, twofold. Darvin Ham's motion offense seems to be taking a hold, at least with the younger players. And the issue that I have is it's the younger players, but we're not seeing Damian Jones thrown in there. Like he only got 7-8 minutes. What is keeping Darvin Ham from playing these bigs and moving Anthony Davis off the 5 and into the 4?
It was so disappointing. I had such high hopes for Damian Jones and Thomas Bryant, and I thought they were going to battle for the spot. Have you ever seen 2 people go for a promotion and then they hire outside the company? That's what happened with Anthony Davis being the center. They had a center competition with Damian Jones and Thomas Bryant. They said, you know what? AD at the 5. So that's how poorly they played. And they did play poorly. I think the issue is, unfortunately, Damian Jones does have the explosive verticality. He can get those oops. I like him on the pick and roll, but the problem is in the 4-out, 1 in motion offense. For those who don't know, just in layman's terms, it means you have 4 players in the perimeter and your center is the only person in the paint. The problem is that only person in the paint has to be dominant. They have to be big. They have to be strong because they're the only one fighting for the rebounds. They're the only one who can clean up the offensive glass. And they're the only one who's there in pick and roll action, likely making the defenders have to struggle between whether they double the ball handler or have to help on the center. But if they're not respecting that center or if they're able to push them around, it kind of weakens that. And now you have basically 5 out, and that's not what they're trying to do. And you have no one. That's why they're losing so many offensive rebounding battles, because they have no one in there. And the problem is, until Damian Jones or Thomas Bryant show that they can hold their own as the lone center down low against all these physical West Coast teams, he has to play someone else. And he did play a little bit of Damian Jones last night, and he looked okay in spurts, but then the spurts faded. And then once they faded, he didn't have enough to consistently do it. And I think that's the problem with looking at a player like Damian Jones. That's the problem with looking at per 36 stats. He looks great in 8-10 minute spurts. But once you put him at 24 minutes spurts, that spectacularness starts diminishing returns. So that's what it's been. I hope one of them can figure it out, or I hope they can do it by committee. But right now, we already knew Anthony Davis was the best center position, but we thought one of those other two would be good enough, and they haven't been.
I agree 100%, and this is coming in at that twofold question. So the young guys picking up this motion offense and picking it up way, I think, quicker than the likes of Russell Westbrook and Pat Bev. And it's not that they don't know. I think it's more so familiarity, as we talked earlier about the difference between chemistry and cohesion. Schroeder's going to come back, and that's going to give you 3 point guards with Buku types of experience. But then you have Kendrick Nunn, who's going to be slid to shooting guard. What are you going to do with Austin Reeves, Scottie Pippen Jr., and Max Christie? Like, these are all players who are going to need time. You could throw Matt Ryan in there if you want, or Cole Sliders in there if you want. I don't count them in the same tier as the other two or other three. What are you going to do with these 5 young guys that need every minute possible, yet you're stuck having to play Patrick Bev and Russell Westbrook at least 27, 30 minutes a game?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think if it was up to me, Dennis starts. You have, like you said, Nunn as shooting guard. Then you got LeBron, AD. Hopefully you can put Jones or Bryant at the 5. Then Russ takes care of the backup unit, maybe with Russ and Nunn are your backup guards. And then it's just a matter of, it is third string. So it'll be a matter of, can you come in and help out if there's foul trouble? Can you come in and just play? I think they're looking at more like 8 to 12 minute shifts. That's it right now. And of course, unfortunately, injuries do come up. So I don't think it's a bad thing to have as many guard options as they have. The problem is not having the wing options. That's been the issue. So since it's not an abundance of riches, I don't think it's too much of a concern because you have a hierarchy. And then let's see what happens. Dennis isn't on a big contract. Nunn's, he's got what's making like $8 million. So I think you can still justify saying, hey, we're going to play these guys. I mean, we saw that last year with Austin Reeves. The Lakers have done a good job of, if you show it and you prove it, you'll get the spot. Austin Reeves was an undrafted rookie. And by the end of the season, he was getting heavy rotation minutes and he was locked in the rotation. And that meant players like Bazemore were on the bench DMPing because, Reeves proved that he was worth the time. So hopefully that doesn't make the players trigger happy. We've seen that with Matt Ryan, but you kind of want that in a shooter. Hopefully they're just being smart and taking advantage of their opportunities. They're not going to get that many, but if they do and they play well, I think they can make it a tough decision for Darvin Ham. And the Lakers have shown that they will side with the talent over, a hierarchy, as long as it's not something ridiculous like LeBron, like Russ is 40-something million. It's kind of hard to bench a player making that much money.
Yeah, all right. I feel you on that. Anything you want to add in terms of LakersTakes.com or Lakers SB Nation?
No, I just joined Lakers SB Nation, which is exciting. There are great, amazing publications all over, Southern California, like the LA Times, and the Athletic, and all those people. But I'll tell you this: there is no group of Lakers writers better than the Lakers SB Nation writers. That's a fact. They have like 12, 15. They go deep, and they're all so good. Honestly, I think I'm a phenomenal writer. I would still put myself at the bottom third of this group. That's how good they are. That I'm still like, I'm like, I'm more on that, I don't know if maybe not Patrick Beverley. I put more in the Cole Slide. I'm just trying to get a rotation spot and do little things myself there. I'm doing the game recaps every night, so give me a follow. Definitely give them a follow. There's some phenomenal writers there, and I'll be recapping every game there. And on LakersTakes.com, I'll be doing like one big feature article once a week. I haven't decided what mine will be for next week. I'm kind of watching the games and seeing kind of what makes the most sense to write about. But yeah, shoot me a follow. I'm excited. I'm always here talking Lakers basketball, and I talk the trash on the group chat to clowns like Jordan all day. So if you want to have fun, that's where we do it.
You just had to get a shot in. You had to. I love it.
I know. I didn't even listen. I know Jordan got some shots in, so I had to.
All right, no problem. Thank you, Edwin Garcia. Make sure everybody shoot him a follow. And we're getting ready now to transition into the final hour of the show. We have Malika Walker, host of the Rewind Pod here on Spaces and in podcast form. And we'll be talking about Charles Barkley after I do the one of the last reads of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for making it through here today. And shout out to everybody who's come up on stage. It takes a lot to do this every day. Last year, I've said this before in the Mountain Show, so I wanted to say it in a different way. Last year, there was 651 hours of hoop spaces. So 651 hours of hoop spaces. Like that's an amazing feat, and we're looking to do about that or more, right? And just saying, if you were to be paid minimum wage, that's almost $10,000. It's hard to do this. Like I've turned down jobs to do this because I'm passionate about it, and I see a future here. And I'm asking you, as this content creator who's been able to help others also create content and chase their dreams. We need some help here. There's a couple things we want to do, and it's going to cost a little money. Any bit helps, even if it's just $5. Consider, donating. The Cash App is up there. Several people reached out and say, I need a Venmo and PayPal and stuff like that. I have it. I'll link it up there as well. I have all of them but Venmo. I'll link it up as a subtweet. But help us out. Like, we're really passionate, but to do 7 days a week newsletter for recap and news and notes, and 5 shows at 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday. I'm trying to get some more things, and that's going to unfortunately cost money. So here you go. Thank you for all your help. For those who've already given, everything is going to be actually turned back in to Hoop Spaces. So there you go. Appreciate everybody. Up next, we're going to change the title of the room. We're going to talk about Charles Barkley. This is a conversation that Malika has wanted to have with me in a while. So if you have your thoughts or questions about Sir Charles, Chuck, the rolling round mound of rebound, now's the time to raise your hand and come on up on stage. Malika is here. JF Cake is here. Scott, a.k.a. Nothing But Heat, is here. Joel Embiid is here. And you are here, but you're down below. So raise that hand and come on up here as we enter the last hour here of Hoop Spaces. Before we get started with the discussion of Charles Barkley, let's give the schedule tonight. Tons and tons to watch tonight. Charlotte hosts New Orleans at 7 o'clock. Indiana, San Antonio, 7 o'clock. Washington and Chicago, 7 o'clock. Your 7:30 games, including your ESPN game. Atlanta will host Orlando, and that's going to be a phenomenal game. I think Orlando might actually have something burning down there in Florida that the league ain't going to be able to put out. Boston, Miami, 7:30. That is your opening ESPN game. That is going to be phenomenal. If Miami loses, I expect to see the same type of reactions as I've seen from the Lakers and the Sixers fan base. Boston, they look great. If you saw them opening night against the Sixers, they're only missing Robert Williams. If he comes back, they're going to be a tough out. Detroit is at New York at 7:30. You're going to be able to see the truth of the New York resurgence. I think they will win this game, and I think they'll win it pretty convincingly to show the world that they actually did do the right thing and got better, as a lot of us are claiming. 8 o'clock, 2 games, Houston and Memphis at Houston. Minnesota hosts the Jazz, who shocked the world by dropping a 20-piece up on the Denver Nuggets, who will be in Golden State at 10 o'clock on ESPN. There's going to be a matchup between last year's MVP and right now the prohibitive favorite in Steph Curry. And then 2 teams who are 1-0, 2 teams that nobody believes in, 2 teams that say the 9th seed is incoming. The Phoenix Suns and the Portland Trailblazers do battle at 10 p.m. I'm thinking the Portland Trailblazers can actually win this one. I think a lot of us are discounting what's going on in the Pacific Northwest. And if you want to, do so at your peril. Dope follows that we can give you for some Portland Trailblazers contact. I'm going to try to get Dia in here on one day so she can share her space and podcast as she's getting ready to launch some more Portland Trailblazers coverage. There you go. The ask has been made. We gave you the schedule. Next up, we're going to say go to hoopspaces.com. Check out what we're going to be doing there as we build, as we grow. Also, check out our sponsor over at slamgoods.com. Use promo code HoopSpaces to save 15%. And there you go. There's the read. And I appreciate the patience. Malika, good afternoon now as we enter the 3rd hour. We're already 20 minutes in. Finally, we're going to talk some Chuck. We'll go ahead and let you set the floor. Charles Barkley, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most unheralded players coming out of college because a lot of people did not think he'd be able to fit. They thought he was overweight. They thought he was fat. They thought he was country bumpkin, a whole bunch of other slurs that we're not going to get here. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to pass it off to Malika. I don't know how many more people have better nicknames than Charles Barkley. In fact, I will say I think he's got the most and the best nicknames in all of basketball, from Sir Charles to the Round Mountain Rebound to the Chuckster, Chuck Wagon, Prince of Pizza, the Incredible Bulk, the Leaning Tower of Pizza, Bread Truck, Boy Gorge, Love Boat, Food World, the Crisco Kid, the Wide Load from Leeds. Ton of fun. The Good Time Blimp, Charles Barkley, is a Hall of Famer, 11 times All-Star, 11-time All-NBA, All-Star MVP, member of the 75th anniversary team. However, even though he has an MVP in 92, 93, he doesn't have the ring. And we're going to talk about whether that matters or not. Malika, good afternoon. How you doing?
Good. Hi, everyone. Of course, y'all know me as a Nets fan, but I also have a passion for the history of basketball. I host a spaces show called The Rewind, where we look at history through the lens of media, whether it's articles, whether it's books, documentaries, and we talk about basketball history, all sports history, really. Because I also discuss football history and just really talk about it and talk about the issues surrounding media, surrounding that player. I'm going to be getting into players and history of teams coming up. But today I wanted to talk about Charles Barkley because I feel like people watch him on TNT and they laugh at the jokes on TNT or may not agree with some of his statements. But Charles Barkley was one of the greatest power forwards to play the game. And I think people forget about that. It's not really discussed. It's just really, he is great on TNT, but he was, when he talks about being a player, he was great as a player. And we will also talk about Charles Barkley not having a ring and his feelings about not having a ring, because he did discuss that. And when he was closest to the ring on a show called Open Court on NBA on TNT, and just how he felt about that. So we'll get to that a little later. But that is why we're discussing him now around a rebound. We just wanted to give him the respect he deserves as a player, because I don't think he gets that respect.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and I think this also part of the byproduct of him existing in a time of Michael Jeffrey Jordan and Larry Bird. And if you are of an age, you remember the McDonald's commercials. We'll get into there. But first, let's talk about when you first saw Charles Barkley, and let's go there. That way, we can give them a sense of what we lived, and then they can have their points of view and questions as well.
Well, the first time I saw Charles Barkley, I was a youngster. I was a basketball fan from when I was really young, because my stepfather was a basketball fan. He was a Knicks fan. I was not a Knicks fan because he was one. So, so that's where I used to watch basketball from that time, and I used to see, Charles Barkley on the court, and my stepfather thought it was hilarious because he wasn't the biggest Charles fan at first, because he was one of those people. Yeah, he watched some college when it was on TV, and he was from Auburn, but he didn't think, the Sixers had Moses Malone, so he's like, we got, we straight, you know what I mean, like, but he's a few years out yet. He felt like it was going to take him a while just to kind of get adjusted. But I like Charles because the Charles I remember, he was a force on the court. Like, I really enjoyed watching them play because I enjoyed watching them play the Knicks. Because my stepfather used to pretty much go off whenever they played the Sixers and all that. So that's my first time seeing him. I didn't watch him much in college, but I did watch him pretty much during his 70s, starting with the 76ers reign. Are you there, Chris? I think we lost Chris.
I think we lost Chris. So that means we get to co-host the show now.
That means we get to co-host the show now.
I'm back. I'm back. Can you hear me?
I
All
can
right.
hear you.
I was in the process of trying to get some Charles Barkley Auburn highlights. And unfortunately, like YouTube's the auto ad, and as soon as I tried to open it to get the link, the auto ad kicked in, and I just started cussing at my phone. The first time I saw Charles Barkley was against the Detroit Pistons. My grandmother was a Detroit Pistons fan, and a Detroit Lions fan. Both, the Detroit Lions caused an early, demise. I'm still upset at that. But the one thing that stood out to me was that Charles Barkley looked like me, right? You have to understand that growing up as I did, there were really two colors of people. There was black and there was white. There really wasn't a lot of mixed race children. I have my own experiences growing up that deals with a lot of that that's separate. But to be able to see someone that I could personally identify with as a light-skinned individual, I almost immediately had forgotten about the greatness of Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars that my grandmother was trying to espouse to me as I was watching this dude who looked like no other player on the planet dominate. Like, let's be honest, he's 6'5" and 300 pounds. And like the dude was running like Bo Jackson on a basketball court. He would grab a rebound. He would sky over 6'10" players, grab a rebound, look at them, and then somehow chug down and just dominate and slam. We'll get that highlight up there. And that's really my first introduction to Charles Barkley as somebody that I could actually, recognize myself in. So there's my origination of Charles Barkley. Sean, Joel, Scott, you're up here. What is the first time you remember seeing the Chuck Wagon?
I will. So the funny thing is, maybe it's because I'm old and lots of gin over the years. Like I don't remember Barkley before '92 when he first got traded. That's when he got traded to Phoenix for what was like a bag of chips. Jeff Hornacek and whatever. Sorry, Sixers fans. But I remember thinking that he was just like the chubby guy. I looked at him as just like a rebounding chubby guy. And then I remember the 93 finals and like this dude is like he won MVP. And I know there's this revisionist history. They're like, Jordan should have won MVP every year. I was like, nah, Barkley was killing in 93. And like he went up against Jordan, I think in game 4 of like the 93 final. I think he scored like 42 points and they lost. And like, yo, Charles is like Charles isn't the chubby guy who rebounds. I have up there in the Jumbotron, thanks for putting up there, Chris, like why Barkley is looked at differently because of that picture of Jordan the 6 rings. And it's not because of the player, it's because of their marketing. Because I remember the first time I saw that picture, it was in Vibe magazine in like 1998. Yes, that's how old I am. I used to read magazines. And to me, that picture signified the beginning of the rings era, where nothing else mattered, no context matters when it came to your career or how good you were. Did you have a ring or not? And that was started by Nike and the Nike machine with Jordan, and then the Kobe Hive took the torch and they ran with it. Now the point is like, well, you don't have rings, so you're not any good. That's why people think like for example, Draymond Green has 4 championship rings. You're not going to tell me Draymond Green is a better player than Charles Barkley. I don't care if he has 4 rings or 14. But that's where we are now because of rings. So Charles Barkley he's a bad man, and he deserves much. He deserves more respect for his play than he gets.
Absolutely. Let me give you guys the career averages. The career averages is 22 points, 12 boards. I'm going to round to the nearest number. 22 points, 12 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Shooting 54% from the floor, 27% from 3. The only hole in his game was free throws. He could never really get it above 74%. Had he done that, ladies and gentlemen, he probably would have been averaging about 28 points per game. because he would have gotten to the line more. Malika, your thoughts?
With Charles, I also think that he played during an era where another power forward was dominating, and that was Karl Malone. Karl Malone was also dominating on the West Coast, and he was seen as like the prototype of the power forward. He played, like of course he had the benefit of playing with another John Stockton. And so, they had more winning records. They were seen as they didn't win either, but they had more winning records. They were seen as, like great players in their own right. And with Charles Barkley on the Sixers, I just don't think he had the, like that. He didn't have the team surrounding him those years, like Karl Malone had with him on the West Coast. Also with Charles, I think it's interesting because Charles talks about this as well. When he came to the Sixers, he was overweight, and Moses Malone sat him down and told him he needed to drop like 25, 50 pounds, something like that, and really got on him about his weight and about him. And he was, with Moses Malone's support, Moses Malone really guided him and used his, like Charles Barkley followed his leadership. He did drop the necessary weight, and that did have an amazing impact on his game. And the funny thing is, Barkley ended up calling Moses Malone dad after that. You see, like because of what he did for him that year and continued to have an impact he continued to have on him, he will literally call him that. Like at the 50th anniversary, or anything, and he'd hear his name called, he used the word dad in reference to Moses Malone. That's how much esteem he had for him, because his career could have turned out differently if he didn't get the guidance, and not just the weight loss, but just in playing a power forward position in the NBA. So I think that's something key to add on Charles Barkley, and how, I think that impact really changed, really had an impact on his longevity in the game.
I 100% agree. Scott, hop up in here. Appreciate you hanging around to go ahead and talk
Man,
Charles Barkley.
this is unbelievable. Charles Barkley, we were having our conversations about this guy the other day. He is absolutely one of the most underrated basketball players of all time. In fact, he was one of the most underrated college basketball players. He shook up the SEC. He shook up the college world. He was an absolute role model. When I was playing college football, this guy was at Auburn. I got a chance to watch him go up against Sam Bowie and Melvin Turpin. These guys were 7-footers, both of them. We had the Twin Towers, and he came into town. This guy was an absolute wrecking ball. He had hops galore, but he played hard every single second on the court. There's really nobody I can say that never took a play off except for Charles Barkley. This is absolutely a tribute that I can get down with.
Absolutely agree. And to Malika's point, we all understand he wouldn't have had a career if it wasn't for Moses Malone getting through to him. He's always battled weight issues, but let's be honest, he's also battled his own personal demons in terms of anger management, maybe some substance abuse as well. As there's been a couple of stories of if you thought what Draymond did was wrong, there's other things Chuck did that were
came
real
out of the
bad.
deep south.
Yep.
Yeah, he had anger issues.
And so with that, like there are other players as well that had some sway and helped Charles Barkley on his way, and we will talk about that a little bit later because it really came out in Phoenix during his MVP year, his first year away from Philadelphia. He had a completely different experience in the NBA. We'll get into that. Sean, Malika, thank you. I also want to make sure that you have an opportunity to tell us what your favorite Chuck moment is.
The one that comes to my head.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, real quick. That one that comes to my head is when he threw the basketball at Shaq's head. Because Chuck is like, you should go, if you don't know, I'm talking about YouTube, him and Chuck and Shaq got into a fight. This is when Chuck was on the Rockets and Shaq was in LA, I believe. And they got tangled up and Shaq pushed him and Chuck threw the ball at his head. And then they started scuffling. And I was like, yo, you gotta be a crazy son of a bitch to throw a ball at a 7 foot tall, 330-pound man. But Chuck is at the shits. Always and forever. I always remember that.
I remember that one too. I thought Shaq was going to tear him up. I ain't gonna lie. He gave up like 7 inches to him and like 50 pounds. It's hilarious.
I believe I put a few of the moments that are my highlights up on the jumbotron. One of them being the monster block on Hakeem Olajuwon. I have that up there. And Charles, when he was defending the fast break, I just think that like versus the Cavs, it's just interesting because to me, Barkley, when I remember watching him, some games he played, most mainly a lot of offense, like from what I remember, y'all can correct me. But there were some games he did play both sides, and when he played both sides, in those games, he was dominant. Like he can block, he can rebound, like he was on both sides of the floor. And that's the one thing about Charles to me. I feel like he didn't do that every single game, but he did when he did bring that part, there was no denying he can dominate on both sides of the ball at 6'5". But some of my favorite Barkley moments are him on defense, because they stood out because of his height. Look how high he jumps in that 4-and-1 fast break highlight. Look how high he jumps at that height. Like, I used to marvel at that because when you're young, those are the things that'll step out. Like it's those type of things, like him jumping and in those block shots. Yep, that was my highlight from Charles.
Yeah, I remember that block, and actually, Hakeem actually talked about that block. And I'm going to try to find the video because he too brought that block up, and he was like, because it was asked by a Toronto Raptor media guy, and he was like, there was a game, and it's the block that Charles Barkley gave. I just looked at the man and saw him block me and run down the court, and I just realized he was different, or something to that effect. Scott, hop in here. I know you have something you want to add in. JB Fortis and Cash, the bad guys, also joined in. Scott, go ahead. All right, he might have stepped away from the captions. We'll introduce
Yeah, I know. I'm
JB.
right here.
Oh,
I was busy posting on your thread some Charles Barkley moments. I mean, this guy just revolutionized the power forward position. And as far as being raised, he spoke his mind. That's not an anger issue. I mean, this guy was speaking his mind. Of course, he battled against certain rages, but still, I mean, he spoke his mind. And the fact is, his size, his demeanor, and everything intimidated people when all he was just trying to do was fit in. It's ridiculous that he got a bad rep. But anyway, in the humor thing, he is definitely the most underrated basketball player of all time. I mean, at any level.
yeah, he's definitely up there. I put power forward because I think there might be one player, and this is a personal bias, and Malika already knows it, and that's Oscar Robertson. Um, Short of Oscar, I think there's nobody who is more underrated than Chuck. Bad guy, fellow Sixers fan, a Chuck head as well. Charles Barkley really defined what Sixers basketball became. Allen Iverson elevated what Charles Barkley started, an independent black player speaking his mind, living his life. Cash, your thoughts on Charles Barkley?
Oh, you talking about the actor from Space Jam that got his superpowers taken? Nah, I like Chuck, man. It's unfortunate that he played with in the same era as Michael Jordan, who would have had a ring, Clyde Drexler, who would have had a ring, Shaquille O'Neal, who would have had a ring, Sean Kemp. Like, y'all gotta know how good Jordan was, man. Shout out to Chuck, man. I always loved the round man on the rebound. He's not a role model, Chris. I don't know if you know that.
I know that. He'll be the first to tell you.
And we're going to get to that in a little bit too, bad guy. Don't worry about that.
Did you see James Harden last night? He's averaging 33, 8, and 8. Ladies and gentlemen, he is our MVP.
We're talking about Charles Barkley right now, not James Harden.
You missed
Got
that
a lot of
part.
Charles Barkley
I
in
knew
him.
you was gonna
He's
get that shot in.
underrated. He got moves. He's the top 3 shooting guard of all time, and he's been dealing with weight issues. He's like the Charles Barkley
I love
shooting
it.
guards and point guards, combo guards.
There you go, Cash. Let me get JB Fortison here. JB, what are your thoughts on Charles Barkley as we also welcome Eddie and John to the stage, ladies and gentlemen?
So up until me, there has been a lot of positivity with regards to Charles Barkley, and I'm going to take it a little bit negative. He was definitely underrated in his career. I don't think he was the most underrated player of that era. I think that Isaiah Thomas was the most underrated player of that era, but neither here nor there. I understand, the argument for Oscar Robertson, the era before, and
Isaiah Thomas wasn't underrated.
He was underrated. Not a point. Not really something I feel like arguing about. Unfortunately, when you said what's the most memorable Charles Barkley moment in time, I go back to the 55-point game that Michael Jordan scored against him in the 93 finals. I was old enough to remember that game. I watched it on television. And to me, that performance summed up Charles Barkley's career as somebody who's really, really good, always gave outstanding effort for 6'6", jumped out of the gym, was fantastic at a lot of the stuff that he did, but was unable to overcome in that era. And you can say that same argument for a lot of players in the Michael Jordan era and the Shaquille O'Neal era. But when we start sort of ranking players in all time and we start thinking like, well, is he the greatest power forward or is he in that sort of group? He always sort of comes up short on the lists for me because all you can really do is face your competition that you're playing each individual night. All you can really do is face the opponent that you're up against. Well, in the magnified scheme, as we zoom up further and further out, all you can do is play the career that's laid out in front of you. And you either win during that career and win at high levels or you come up short. I think Charles Barkley is properly rated because he came up short. But thankfully, he has $200 million to sleep on thanks to that new TNT contract. So that's where I come down. I know it sounds negative. I think he's properly rated. I think he's really, really good. I just don't think that he was ever able to overcome the challenges that he faced.
Yeah, no problem. Like a lot of people will actually default to that. When I make the claim that he's the most underrated power forward, I look at it as we sit here at times and we say, well, who would win between Dirk Nowitzki, KG, and Tim Duncan? Who would win between Pau Gasol and some of the other contemporaries? We leave off Charles Barkley because it's just easier to say he didn't win in his era. Well, like the only person who won more than one championship in his era is Isaiah Thomas, which is why you're going to get pushback from saying Isaiah Thomas is underrated because everybody will.
To that? Sorry.
Well, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Where do you feel so? Okay, what era do you feel Hakeem Olajuwon was in with that claim? Because I would say he was in the Charles Barkley era too. He would be my other sort of.
Hakeem is not underrated. No.
He's not underrated, but Hakeem.
Oh, that's what you mean. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I misunderstood.
And then also like Hakeem is in the position, was in the position that Giannis is in right now, where the people who are just ahead of him. And he's reached the same success, are about to bow out. But he's older than the generation he's leading into that new era. So he's going to end up being 30 by the time the new era sets in, where everybody else hits 25, 26, and 27. That's where Hakeem was, and that's why he ended up in Toronto, right? Because Barkley gone, Drexler gone, Houston was over, the new era of basketball was in, he was basically moved unceremoniously. Chuck fit in the Jordan era. Zeke fit in the Jordan era. Zeke was a carry from the Celtics era into the Jordan era. Had Jordan not been there, we very well may be calling it the Zeke and Olajuwon era. Or we would be calling it the Zeke and Barkley era. Like, that's how dominant Michael Jordan was. Like, no one's taking that away. But you do bring up a real good point, JB, and I agree with it. You can only play who you play. And he lost. But still underrated in the totality of the career, and the credit he's given is what we're making the argument for. Let me get Scott in here, everybody. Remember, we are about inclusion. I'm hoping this time, before we close out, Scott, do us a favor. Tell us about the inclusion brand bourbon that you're backing up. We got Eddie and John, and then we're going to move to Malika to move on to some of the more controversial or negative Chuck statements that we're going to have here. Scott, floor is yours. Make sure, Scott, inclusion bourbon.
Well, I
Get
just
it
want to
included.
say this. I don't think Isaiah Thomas was ever truly underrated. I mean, he was with the Indiana team back in college that went undefeated. The only college team, or the last college team to ever go undefeated back in 1979. So from that moment on, I think he was getting his props. And you're talking about these different eras. I like hearing about the Jordan eras, and even going back to the college basketball and Georgetown era with Patrick Ewing. But I want to give one shout out to a special guy that never got to play in the NBA, and that's Len Bias. If you had Len Bias, you would have the Bias/Jordan era. That guy was unbelievable in college at Maryland, and he just did some things on the court with Jordan and against UNC that was unbelievable. And it's a sad thing that we never got to really see Len Bias take his talent to the next level, because he was a hell of a player.
He absolutely was. I agree 100%. As a University of Maryland fan, I don't think they actually ever recovered until they hired Gary Williams as coach, because Maryland was actually very competitive, and people just don't remember it in the old ACC. Up next, we're going to go to Eddie. Eddie, thanks for joining us up on stage. Your memories and thoughts of Charles Barkley as we're going ahead and just having an open, frank discussion. Like, he was great. A lot of people don't understand his greatness because they see him today as the Chuck on TV. And I think that also kind of hurts. They also see him swinging a golf club, and it's not pretty. Eddie, good morning.
Good morning, Chris. How you doing? And I appreciate you putting me up. Yeah, definitely. What the people see nowadays is a caricature of what Chuck truly was. And he was one of the greatest power forwards ever. I mean, what we see now, and as good and as entertaining, and the money that he's made and the career he's made for himself post career is amazing. And he was just being himself, honestly. And we see what we see now. And like you said, Chris, I think it actually hurts him. As great as he is, it actually hurts him when you think about the conversations that when you talk about the top power forwards ever, when Malika had her spaces about the top power forwards ever, the names that came up, I think we literally had the same three names that would come up when it came to Duncan, Garnett, and Dirk. And a lot of people, barely I think put in Chuck, and he was one of my five, as well as Elvin Hayes. That he's a name that people forget about, and they forget how good he was, because they've never seen him. They've never watched him. They only see what they see now. So the numbers, I think you guys put it out there, and the dynamic that he had, the dynamic between he and Jordan. How Jordan almost like literally has been a roadblock in his career, literally. And I think that hurts him as well, where even if you think, I'm not sure if Malika's going to go into this in her space when she does the rewind session about Chuck, about how he was left off even on the 84 Olympic team, where, and that was the Michael Jordan led Olympic team when they won the gold. And that's when they still had college players. And it was amazing how he was probably the second best, at worst, third best player in that camp, and he got left off the team by Bobby Knight. He and Bobby Knight didn't have a good relationship, and he was just left off that team that won the championship. So Jordan, even that Jordan carried that team to the Olympic gold, and of course he made that team and Chuck didn't. So it's just like how the dynamic between he and Jordan always, even from late college and into the career. But yeah, he's the only memory I really have of Chuck as for watching him as a kid playing. It was never really one specific moment. It was just that, like you said, it was just he was so unique. And the fact that he was about 6'4", 6'5", and he would be jumping out the gym. And it's something when you see guys like that, him, David Thompson, when you see those guys jumping, and getting rebounds over bigger men like 6'10 guys, 6'9 guys, and 7-foot guys. It's just amazing. And it wasn't like, okay, I'm getting, 8 to 10 rebounds. There'll be games where Chuck would have 15, 20 rebounds, which was amazing at his size and his girth and watching a man like that jump. So it wasn't really maybe one specific moment in his playing career that I think of. It's just him and his athletic ability that he had at his size. And just he was so unique of a player. And the Chuck I really remember, really watching when I really got into basketball was more later in his career, his Phoenix Suns days, when even though he lost athleticism, his skill to almost average a triple-double, I think, in that MVP year of his. That he was just amazing. And that's pretty much it. But I am looking forward to Malika's space and getting more into detail about it.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. In this space that you're talking about, where you reference the top power forwards of all time, were Elgin Baylor and Dennis Rodman mentioned at all, and Karl Malone, or did they just not make the cut?
So
and it's okay if they weren't.
Yeah. So, like somebody said this in the chat, like
Gotta mention Wes Unseld.
the issue that we're having here is the term underrated, right? Like the Chuck was 6'4", generally listed at 6'5", 6'6", but he was 6'4", 270 pounds, putting out the same stat lines that a 7-foot, 260 to 80 pound center did, right? With the athleticism of a 6'5" combo guard wing. And we now have these arguments where, oh, well, he's not better than KG. And the issue is not enough of us saw enough Chuck and seen enough KG to really make an apt comparison. But what we can compare is this. At 6'10" and 270 with his athletic ability, we would be talking about Charles Barkley in the manner that we were talking about Shaq, because that's how physically dominant he was. He just wasn't 7 foot. Like, if you ask Larry Bird says one of the hardest guards he's ever had was Charles Barkley. He was faster. He was stronger. He talked shit. He backed it up. He put his shoulder in his chest and moved him. That's what Shaq did. And now, instead, we're like, oh, well, he was good, but he didn't win. He didn't win a ring. Like, yeah, there's tons of players who were great and didn't win a ring. What we're saying is we are not really giving him the credence to his athletic ability and skill that we would give to Giannis. Because you know what Giannis is doing? Exactly what Chuck did. And he's 6 inches taller. That's where the disrespect comes in. The equation of, oh, he's not better than Karl Malone. I think he is.
I think he is also. Yep, I thought he was then.
Go ahead, JB, and then we're going to kick it to John, and then Malika will carry us through. I got you in a minute, Eddie.
I just, all I wanted to sort of ask was like, were the names even brought up? I wasn't actually trying to have the argument.
Malika, you can answer that.
Dennis Rodman did come up. Karl Malone did come up. Some in the group felt like some of his life that came to light about, like his child and all that, and the age of the mother played a part in him not being considered in their top 5. But recognizing the talent of Karl Malone is understood that he is top 5. You look at his numbers, you look at his play. Eddie mentioned Edwin Hayes, but he was the only one to mention him. But Dennis Rodman was mentioned. So some people, he was more top 10, and he got special mention. But I only went through 1 through 5, and he wasn't consistently in people's top 5, but he was mentioned in a few.
So that was the big question, but I had one, I guess, counterpoint to what you're saying, Chris, which is that part of sifting the air, and when I say sifting the air, I mean, like, you're talking about Mount Rushmore of power forwards, and you're talking about who is the greatest of all time, and then you're saying, well, this guy is underrated or this guy is properly rated or whatever, is the winning, right? So in other words, when you've decided that these 6 or 7 or 8 players have all-time great talent, and you've put them all on top of the mountain, and you say, okay, which one stands the tallest?
Well, that's your
You're
subjective view, not mine,
fair
because
enough.
I don't use rings at all for mine.
Okay, well, if you don't use
Rings.
I do not use championships to debate what player is better, because the team wins the championship.
fair enough. But if you're going to put 8 people on top of a mountain, I stand by my analogy. If you put 8 people on top of a mountain and then say, okay, which of you 8 is the best? Things like
You
height,
got to
things like
narrow it
jumping
down for this
ability,
there, guys.
rebounding, scoring, all of these different things, right? They all the different statistics have to come into effect. And if you get ties on those individual metrics, then where do you go to rank the 8? Do you know what I'm saying or no? Am I
Well,
not
yeah,
making any sense?
I know what you're saying. What I think is happening is you're not accepting my argument here that if Charles Barkley is 6'10" and is the same height and continues the same talent that he has with his contemporaries, we're having a completely different discussion. That's the argument. You're saying what sets them apart. He's 6'4" doing a 6'10's job. Like he is pulling out Giannis numbers despite not being Giannis's height. That's the argument. And a lot of people don't like it because it doesn't what, Sean?
Doesn't fit the narrative.
With rings. All right, let me get John in here. Then I want to kick it up to Malika. We're going to extend the time till about 1:10. John, thank you for popping up. Do us a favor, shoot us all a follow. We'll follow back when we can. Your thoughts on Charles Barkley. We'll go to Scott after John. Malika, take it up after Scott. Uh-oh.
I just wanted to ask one question. I mean,
Oof.
name me another power forward that was more versatile than Charles Barkley. I'm talking about versatility. You got power forwards and 3 and Ds and all this shit today. Just tell me another guy that can play 1 through 4 like Charles Barkley did at the power forward position.
It's a hard ask. I mean, you could even say that Charles Barkley could be a progenitor to LeBron James. Like that's not far fetched. John, if you're there, now's the time. If not, you're about to get the horns, and that would be bad because we haven't given out the horns all show. All right, we got a new show killer.
He might be on the call. But the thing I was going to go in deeper detail another time. I was going to do a special space on a few people. And one of them, Charles Barkley, was going to be in the midst of that. The 84 Olympic team is interesting because at first Bobby Knight didn't like Jordan and he didn't think he could shoot. And then he started to like him because of some other intangibles and stuff. But that Charles Barkley being off that team is unfortunate. But one of the things I wanted to make sure I mentioned was, and of course in 92 for the Dream Team, it was Charles Barkley was the best player consistently for the Dream Team during that run. Well, in my opinion, if you disagree, okay. But he was the best player in the Dream Team consistently. Even though when he played Angola, that whole situation was ugly. When he pushed the Angola player and he said that he was elbowing him or whatever. It was an ugly incident, but Charles was the consistent best player. But I don't want to be a role model. I'm not a role model. Was so controversial at the time because remember Nike had the Jordan commercials. Love those commercials.
Sometimes I dream.
Yeah,
that
that's
he is
Gatorade.
me.
That's
Oh.
Gatorade. But Nike also had these commercials where they were, Nike pushed the hell out of Jordan. I love Jordan. He's my favorite player. Those commercials made him look like the perfect human. And Charles Barkley came out with, I am not a role model. I have the commercial up with a Jumbotron. And at the time, people was like, what the hell? Charles was himself. When he gave his interviews, you may hear F words, you may hear something in there. Like he was not, like if you think, people think that Russell Westbrook is ornery during his interviews sometimes with the face he makes and all. Charles Barkley didn't give two whatever. This is Chris's space, so I'm going to respect the no cursing rule. He didn't care sometimes. He would just say whatever was on his mind because he was just frustrated. A lot because he didn't have consistent help when he was on the Sixers. He got more help when he was on the Suns, but we'll get to that in a minute. Oh yeah, we can't. We're at 1 o'clock. But yeah, I am not a role model. Look at that commercial. It was a firestorm when this commercial came out, but he was right. He was right. But it was controversial considering what other athletes and athletes, the image of the athlete at the time, and he was in direct, nah, that's not me, and I'm not going to be that, and that's that. So like respect him, don't respect it. I looking at it now as an adult, he was right, and I have 100% respect for it. But at the time, it wasn't looked at favorably by a lot of people.
I loved that commercial, and I love the fact that he said I'm not a role model, and that made him a role model.
He was telling the truth. And one thing about Charles, he was unabashedly himself at all times. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it. But he was going to be himself whether you liked it or not. And I respect him for that. And to this day, he's giving you what he wants to give you. And he tells, even if you don't agree with him, he's going to share what he feels. And you agree with him or not, it's going to be out there. I don't agree with everything Chuck says, but it's out there, and you either accept it or you don't. Can we say one thing about his time on the Suns?
Yeah, I mean, you got time. I want to make sure
No,
I get John in here, but go ahead.
yeah, when he was on the Suns, of course he played in the finals versus the Bulls, and he said up until that time he didn't think there was a player really better than him. And when he played with the Bulls, he had a conversation with his daughter. He was like, "Okay, there may be a player better than me." And he, eventually, of course, we know the Suns lost that finals, but on open court, and I'm gonna find the episode and link it up there on a jumbotron. It was a powerful speech by Charles on just how hurt he was when he did, because he made a promise to his daughter, I'm going to win this finals, and when it didn't happen, because this is the closest he got, just how crushed and how he really felt about that loss. And yeah, now his career is judged because he didn't get that ring. To me, he's still one of the greatest power forwards of all time, one of the greatest players of all time. It doesn't take away from that because all great players don't have rings. But I'm going to link the episode up top. It's a powerful episode, and it's a power test. His testimony was powerful about how he felt about that moment because that was the closest he got to getting a ring.
Yeah, I agree. I tell you, he also embodied a lot of the little guy, and a lot of people who maybe felt that they didn't get a fair shake also kind of leaned into Charles Barkley. And I just say that as somebody who seems to live life like outside of what's considered like marginal normal culture in America, because I moved around being in the army, and that unabashedness and blunt and frankness is another thing that kind of really appealed to me. Up next, we're going to talk to a Hall of Famer in his own right, John Bynum Jr., one of the greatest players in California JUCO ball history, national champion as well. John, thank you for making the time to be able to pop in here. 14-year career overseas. Just thrilled that you're able to pop up in here. Your thoughts on Charles Barkley?
Yeah, thanks for having me, first of all, and I appreciate you taking time to acknowledge the accolades as well, too. But anyhow, for me, I grew up watching Charles Barkley. That was kind of my era. I was born in '78 and so on. But for me, he's very underrated. I mean, to me, his game was a little bit more polished towards the end of his career when he played in Phoenix, obviously. If you look at even when he played in Philly, it was, athleticism, and so on. And, he was playing the lane a lot of highlights you saw him out on the fast break dunking and things like that. I think once he got to Phoenix, I think people were able to see more of his game, kind of taking it inside out. You had to double him down in the post, and I think that's why people overlook him just because of his size. And he was undersized from your prototypical forward at that point, and but at the same time, I mean, you look at the end of the day, you see his numbers. He's putting up 40 and 20 in Western Conference Finals, and then doing the same thing in finals. And he doesn't get talked about enough. I think he's very underrated, and in my personal opinion, he's one of the greats to do it. And it's a shame that so many people put that ring topic into conversations when all you got to do is look at the eye test sometimes. And Charles Barkley did his thing, and I just wanted to just come in here and give my personal opinion on it. Great player. Doesn't get talked about enough for sure, but I really enjoyed watching him play. He was as real as it gets, no filter. And that's one thing that you can always appreciate about players as well, too.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you popping in. We're here every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. So anytime you want to listen to some basketball talk, hop in.
No, I definitely will. This is enjoyable conversation. I love talking hoops any day of the week for sure.
All right, appreciate it. Up next, we're going to go to Micah, then Verl, then we're going to kick it back to Malika so she can give her closing thoughts on Charles Barkley and set up what she's got planned for the Rewind Pod. Micah, thank you for your patience. The floor is yours.
Yeah. So on Charles, so I didn't really catch his Philly days. I didn't really start getting into basketball until probably 90, 91. That 92, 93 Charles was something serious. And this is what I like to get an opinion on. I think he's underrated not just because of rings, and this is what I kind of like to hear Malika's thoughts about it. I think as time goes on, I feel like a lot of the people that Jordan played against, that there's an attempt to downgrade them and downgrade their greatness just to say, oh, Jordan wasn't that great. Look who he is playing against. These teams weren't that good. They was just plumbers and electricians. I think that plays into it as well. So I was just wondering y'all's thoughts.
I definitely can see that. I'll let Malika answer that after Verl goes. We're getting short on time. Verl, Nico, good morning. Appreciate you always coming in and supporting the community we've built here. It means a lot. He's up here most of the time, quiet, just listening, always down to support with the retweet and a positive word. Verl, thank you. The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chris. I actually have some free time since I have a break from class. So I would just like to say, this conversation is one of the best conversations because I'm a really big Charles Barkley fan. And when people need to go back and in the history books and review what this man has done, he his post-up game was so dominant that they had to change the rules for him to stop, because he would post people up for more than 5 seconds, and it became so overpowering. So people had to, I think they had to make up a rule. It's the 5-second rule in the post. So when you have a re-entry pass to the post, you have to make up your mind more than 5 seconds to move, because Charles Barkley would just back down his opponents in any mismatches, and then it would be easy 2 points.
Yeah, I remember those days. We kind of wish we had that in Philadelphia right now with a certain 7'1", 280-pound center who could do exactly what Chuck did 30 years ago. Come on, man. Why you got to bring that up, for real? That just makes me feel bad because we're 0-2 now.
So sorry, Chris, but can we also talk about his evolution of a player too?
I tell you what, we can, but that would actually be better for Malika Walker's upcoming Charles Barkley space on the Rewind Pod.
Yeah, but I would like to say to the audience, we have a lot of people tuning into the show, but I would really appreciate that you guys actually tune into Malika's content that she does. She has Like, she does extremely well detailed oriented spaces. Like, she does homework about the topics that she does. So I try to like tune in, but most of the time I have like homework, and then I'll listen to the spaces when I have my free time, like during breaks and stuff. But I advise you guys to listen, because we had like great spaces with like the Lakers series that they had, and she actually got in touch with the writer, and then they had a great interview. So like, you guys, Hoop Spaces, this is only season 2, and we're making so much progression. I just advise everybody, just be kind and nice in the community, because everybody's making a great, like, phenomenal work.
Definitely appreciate it, Earl, because everybody is trying to build a path to the dreams that they're chasing. Like, I'm no different. Malik is no different, and you down below as a listener is no different. Hopefully, the content we provide you is something that you enjoy. And I ask, like, always, to check out everybody's space. And if you can't, it lives in perpetuity on the timeline, and we will be getting it up on the Hoop Spaces YouTube channel as well, to try to help get a central location. We're going to go to Danny real quick. Danny, thanks for making it in. It's probably lunch where you are. You got 60 seconds, and then Malik has got the last 4 minutes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to step down.
Yeah, good morning. Oh, good. Wait a minute. What time is it? Yeah, good afternoon. I had to look and see what time it was. Charles Barkley was great. He was one of the greats. I remember watching him play as a young teenager, and he was just phenomenal, especially after he dropped that weight. He was phenomenal over there. He was truly what the Sixers needed then. They probably need his butt now if he was a little bit younger, because I don't know what was going on, but y'all don't play defense. Y'all Sixers do. James Harden pounds the ball too much. And
Hey, Danny,
and a big
why are we talking about this now? We're talking about Charles Barkley. Like
well,
you
it's
missed
all relation.
you missed the time this morning.
But I was in office, so I couldn't say
There's,
you gave me 60 seconds. Stop eating up my 60 seconds.
well, I was giving you
Anyway,
60 seconds to talk about Charles Barkley.
I did. I'm linking them together. I'm bringing them around full circle. If they had played defense and played more smarter, they probably would have won that game last night. But they missed open cutters, and B trying to wall dance a foul. He want to be a guard so bad, but baby, you need to be in the post. Maybe repost like Charles did. Pass the ball back to the guard and repost and make a quick decision on what you're going to do and be. See, that's what made Charles great. He knew the assignment, he understood it, and he executed it to perfection. Unfortunately, he didn't get a ring. Not everybody's going to have a ring, but he is one of the top 5 forwards that play this game. See how I tied it back into Charles? You happy?
Yeah, I see what you did. I just think you wanted to talk about the Sixers loss just to try to get at me.
I
It's okay.
did.
Yeah,
I
see?
did.
Yeah.
And hey, when your crowd boos you like Philly does, it's a problem. They 0-2 right with the Lakers. I'm sorry, Fakers. I'm sorry. And the 0-11 Westbrook. Can I say Westbrook now? I've been offending people last year.
You're good.
So it is what it is. Thank you.
No problem. We are over time, ladies and gentlemen, here on Hoop Spaces, but I want to give the last floor time to Malika Walker. We met on Clubhouse almost 2 years ago talking basketball, and she didn't want to do this at first. Like, she didn't want to come up here and talk basketball. Not here on Twitter. I'm just talking about period. And over the 2 years, we've seen her absolutely grow and blossom into somebody who is a phenomenal follow on Twitter for positivity, for music, and for basketball. And not just her Nets, not just what's going on now, but in the totality of basketball. She is a gateway into history because we both appreciate it. And she wanted a platform to be able to share her love of all things basketball and culture. And that's what the Rewind Pod is. And if you haven't known, now you know. And you have the ability to click on her profile, shoot her a follow, and catch a great, great show. Malika, I want to say for 2 years, thank you. Like, I'm tearing up a little bit. What we've done is amazing. And we wouldn't be able to be where we are without you. And from my heart to yours, Thank you. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Chris. My goodness. I have two passions. That is my work in education, nonprofit work, and in basketball history. Those are my two passions. Me being a Nets fan is just me. I mean, I've been a Nets fan most for as long as I can remember. But when it comes to basketball history, I I just love it. I have a passion for it, but also sports history in general, not just basketball, because I also love football. If you want to type of content, looking at history through the lens of actual documented media, even when I talk about players or eras of teams, which is coming very soon. We're going to have fans pick the exact era that they would like to discuss with their favorite teams, and we will discuss it in the Rewind Pod as a family and pay tribute to that. My first room on this would be on the Nets because that is my team. So I figure I'll start with my team. We're going to talk about the Derek Coleman, Kenny Anderson, Petrovic Nets, and the Jason Kidd era Nets. We'll combine them into one space and talk about that era. Then I will poll 76ers fans and we'll go over what era you guys want to discuss. My next space will be on the Lakers Hulu series for now. Those last few episodes, we're going to close out Lakers coverage for a while. Just heard Shaq has a series coming, so I guess there's more Laker coverage. But I'm just going to chill on the Lakers for a minute. There are other teams in the league. So we're going to start with the Nets room in a few weeks, but next week is finally putting a lid on Lakers coverage for a little while, finishing up the Lakers series with Edwin Garcia and Hoop Spaces Ryan. Later next month, we're going to discuss the Mahmoud Abdul Rauf book. I'll be discussing that with Carla. We're both reading it, and we'll bring our synopsis and our thoughts on that book on November 30th. And I have other spaces before then, including the top sitters all time is coming finally, the top 10, because I think 6 through 10 is where I want to really hear what people have. But I appreciate Chris for this space on Charles Barkley. I'm also going to have spaces looking at great players from different eras and paying respect to those players. And Charles Barkley is one of those players that we'll do a deeper dive on later. And I want to thank Chris for this time because I just wanted to show him some love with some 76ers fans because we always talk about him on TNT, but we don't show that he was great in his time. And I don't care if he doesn't have a ring. He's one of the greatest power forwards all time. And he did play both sides of the ball. And he loved ball. He loved the game. And he was not a role model. And we need to respect and love that. So thanks, Chris. My next space will be next week. And I'll be moving to rewind some spaces to Saturday because Hoop is every night now. And I'll be moving it to the weekend and people can listen to the replays if you can't catch it. But stay tuned for my next space. And thanks for your time, Chris.
Hey, no, I like I said, it's hard for me, and a lot of y'all don't know my background. It's hard for me to create relationships with people. It's a byproduct of my previous profession, and truly, I count you as a personal friend, someone that I know that I can pick up my phone and send a text to if I need to ask a question, and that means a lot to me. And I want to make sure that everybody affords their opportunity to hear that kindness in your words as you host these spaces. Please, everybody, I implore you, shoot Malika Walker a follow. She's definitely worth it. That's it for us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to hit the button to play the music, and now you know what that means. It's time to get out of here. We're brought to you by Slam Goods over at slamgoods.com. Look, it's hoodie season, and it's fast becoming winter, and you need a hoodie, and not just a regular hoodie you're going to go spend $10 at Walmart. I understand, like it's cheap. Buy something that is actually worth your time. This Slam to the World hoodie is dope. It's on sale, and not only can you get it for the sale price, you can add 15% off by using promo code HoopSpaces. And a big shout out to another friend, the Pickup Card Game, who introduced us to Slam Goods. So make sure when you go there, add the Pickup Card Game to your roster. It's one of the greatest innovations in basketball in the last decade plus. You will play with it with your children. They will learn to love basketball and be inclusionary in all things in life. Pick up Card Game at slamgoods.com. Thank you. We'll be back Monday at 10 a.m. Make sure you sign up and subscribe to the free newsletter before you head out because, ladies and gentlemen, I will still be doing this on the weekend. Peace out. Have a good weekend.